Leposki archived about 2,000 hours of generative tree music people still listen to online. He also produces ambient folk with guitarist Charles Copley. They've made on-site field recordings in forests on both U.S. coasts for their project Palm Reading.
I feel like there's such a direct relationship between humans and plants, really necessary for our survival and day-to-day existence that most folks take for granted.
Do you see yourself as an environmental artist?
I do. I guess like more now, spending time doing the workshop, I don't know, it just brings me a lot of joy.
For Leposki, deep listening is a form of compassion, and doing it communally matters. Mind and ear-opening brilliance doesn't happen in solitude, he says. It comes from the collective. For Here and Now, I'm Andrea Shea.
Some peace for you on a Monday. Let's just keep listening. It's Here and Now.
I'm Marco Werman. The World's Newsroom brings you the big picture stories and some other stuff.
It may surprise you to learn, but in Italy, many mafiosi are religious.
You don't expect to find a swimming pool in the middle of the desert.
The rule number one when planning a golf course in China is to not call it a golf course.
Join us and hear the world.
That's The World, starting at 3 on Radio IQ every weekday.
Political polarization pushes people apart, but writer Chloe Valdary says we can close those divisions by allowing for one simple thing, the possibility that we can still be enchanted by the people around us.
When you remember this about your neighbor and you act accordingly, there will be less unnecessary suffering and less unnecessary pain in the world.
That's on the next On Point.
Weekdays at 7 on Radio IQ.
Funding for Here and Now comes from the listeners of WBUR Boston and the Marotra Institute for Business, Markets, and Society, hosting the Is Business Broken podcast, featuring conversations with academics, industry leaders, and politicians. More at ibms.bu.edu. And BetterHelp, committed to supporting mental health through therapy and helping clients find balance. Clients are matched with one of 30,000 therapists for online therapy from anywhere at betterhelp.com/public.
It's Here and Now. The political era of AI deepfakes has arrived. Not just anonymous creators putting words in politicians' mouths, but Senate Republicans using artificial intelligence to generate a fake version of Democratic leader Chuck Schumer in an ad about the government shutdown. Now, it took a print quote of something Schumer did say and Punchbowl News wrote down. Every day gets better for us, but then created a fake video of Schumer actually saying it. Ina Fried is chief technology correspondent at Axios. Hi there, Ina.
Hi, Robin.
So here's the ad. Again, the words are Schumer's in print. The sound is fake.
Every day gets better for us.
Chuck Schumer thinks playing with Americans' livelihoods is just a game. When asked about the government shutdown, Schumer said,
"Every day gets better for us."
Really, Chuck?
Ina, President Trump posted vulgar deepfake videos after he met with Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries. Remember the Oval Office visit and then the AI-generated videos with the sombreros? We expect that vulgarity from the president. But this is the National Republican Senate Committee, and they came out and said AI isn't going anywhere and, implied people should stop clutching their pearls. Are you clutching your pearls?
No, I think, what we're witnessing is the potential breakdown of trust and of truth. And I think, unfortunately, that is some people's goal, but it's something that enlightened society should be avoiding.
Yeah, I mean, meaning this is not something like, oh, some fake kind of, we're going to faint. It's real, you say. And there's a small tag in the corner of the video that says AI generated. But reporters, political reporters are saying, no, this crosses a line. How does this affect reporting? I'm thinking as well.
So, I mean, they did say it was AI generated, and kudos for that, because they may not even have to under the lack of legislation that we have at the moment. Federal court struck down a California law that would have required disclosure. So, good that they at least disclosed that it's AI generated. I think the real risk is the technology has reached the point that we all worried about. They can put words in anyone's mouth. Anyone can do it. It doesn't require a lot of technology. There's enough video out there for any politician to create a credible deepfake. So what we need to have are enough rules as a society that we can tell what's real and what isn't, or we're going to simply accept the truths that we want to hear. And I think there's a very real risk that we've already hit that point where pre-AI, people weren't necessarily believing in truth so much as what they wanted to hear.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to say too late, because there's fake news, but these are deep fakes. There was another case last week of a British politician in an AI-generated video that showed a deep fake version of the conservative MP George Freeman saying he was switching parties. Again, not real. He's not. He reported that video to the police and said this is the kind of political disinformation that can distort, disrupt, ruin democracy. So he goes to the police, but is there anything anyone can do?
Well, not in the U.S., it seems, unfortunately, because we don't have good legislation, and some courts have held that deepfakes are free speech. I think it's particularly worrisome. I do think there are some technology solutions that can help, which is there are some folks promoting some standards that have provenance. So basically, since we can't tell what's a deepfake, can we tell what's real? So if we label video from the moment of capture, then at least when you have some video that's going viral, this is a riot, this is whatever, you can look at the metadata and say, nope, actually, this was captured in 2012. So that is one approach that could offer some help. But again, we're going to have to start caring about this more as a society. I think if we throw our hands up, we're in real trouble.
Well, there may not be laws, as you've said, or regulations, but what about lawsuits? I mean, if an AI company creates something that you feel defames you, it is not you saying it or doing it, what about suits?
Well, there certainly is an opportunity, especially if it were not a public figure saying it. I think the hard part is when it comes to public figures, the standards for all of those things are much higher. I think if they created something that, a child, and that's obviously why we've seen, revenge porn and that sort of deep fakes, that's the one area we've seen some attention. I do think you're right. I think a private citizen could bring an action if somebody created a deep fake that harmed their reputation. Hopefully, we'll see some method, whether it's societal agreement, policies by the tech companies, or legislation. Any of these could be potential solutions that help protect even the right of public figures to control their own likeness.
Well, in the seconds we have here, I mean, should be one of those things where if it can happen to them, it can happen to you.
Absolutely. I mean, that's the problem right now is it can happen to anyone. The technology is trivially easy, and we don't have either laws or societal agreement on what we should do.
Yeah. Ina Free, Chief Technology Correspondent at Axios, about the deep fake ads that the Republican Senate Committee is claiming. It's not done anonymously. Ina, thanks so much.
Thanks, Robin.
And Here Now is a production of NPR and WBUR. I'm Robin Young in Boston.
And I'm Peter O'Dowd in Phoenix. It's Here and Now.
Good afternoon and welcome to the 2:00 p.m. session of Roanoke City Council on October 20th. We are delighted to welcome you all here today. I'm going to ask our clerk, Ms. McCoy, to please call the roll.
Vice Mayor McGuire.
Here.
Mr. Nash.
Here.
Mr. Volleson.
Here.
Ms. Powers. Here. Mr. Hagan.
Here.
Ms. Sanchez-Jones. Here. Mayor Cobb.
Here, and a quorum is present. Before I invite the Reverend Julio Reyes, pastor of St. Gerard Catholic Church, forward to lead our invocation and the Pledge of Allegiance, I'd like to invite us to stand, and I want to offer a moment of silence. For our moment of silence, I'd like to celebrate the memory of James Jim Davis, who recently served on the Mill Mountain Advisory Board and prior to that, the Roanoke Arts Commission. Jim and his wife retired to Roanoke after many years of public service. In addition to being a history professor, academic dean, and senior vice president at Ferrum College, he then became president of Shenandoah University, where he served until his retirement. And while he was president there, he served 3 terms in the House of Delegates for the General Assembly. So for his public service and his service here in Roanoke, on his passing, I'd like for us to have a moment of silence in his memory.
Thank you for inviting me to come and lead this invocation, this prayer. Heavenly Father, we come to you today asking for your guidance, wisdom, and support as we begin this meeting. Help us to engage in meaningful discussion to find solutions to the issues and challenges that people of this city face on a daily basis. Allow us to grow closer as a city council and nurture the bonds of community. Fill us with your grace, Lord God, especially those who are here to speak, to listen to, and to make decisions that might affect the residents and all those who are part of this city of Roanoke. And continue to remind us that all that we do here today, all that we accomplish, is for the pursuit of truth, for the greater glory of you, and for the service of this city of Roanoke and its residents. We ask these things in your name. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Reverend Reyes. City Council meetings are televised live and replayed on RVTV Channel 3 on Thursdays at 7:00 p.m. and Saturdays from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. and video streamed through YouTube Live at youtube.com/RoanokeVA. Council meetings are offered with closed captioning for the deaf and hard of hearing. Council of the City of Roanoke is seeking applications for various vacancies on council-appointed authorities, boards, commissions, and committees. And to complete an online application, you can access that application through the city's website at roanokeva.gov. Or if you need additional assistance, you can visit or call our clerk's office Monday through Friday. Roanoke City Council is accepting nominations for the 2025 Citizen of the Year. To view the nomination criteria and complete a nomination form, please visit roanokeva.gov/Citizen of the Year, or again, stop by the clerk's office and they'll be glad to assist you. All nominations must be submitted by 5 p.m. on Friday, November 21st, 2025, and nominees must be residents of the City of Roanoke. This time we're going to move into our presentations and acknowledgements, and we'll start out with our council shout-outs, which are opportunities for us as council members in our travels throughout the city to celebrate some of the good things that are happening among us. So I'm going to turn to Councilwoman Vivian Sanchez-Jones to start today.
Why me? Thank you. Oh, well, I have so many shout-outs for this weekend, but one of them is the Melrose Fall Festival, which is a great turnout, and I love to see how many city departments were represented there. I also attended the Blue Ridge Literacy in their celebration of awards for students that have excelled, as well as for volunteers, so that was a good one. And then I did the proclamation for the Filipino-American community, which was a lovely event, so thank you.
Vice Mayor, you want to go next?
Thank you, Mayor. I want to thank the Parks and Rec Department and then all of the teams that helped with GoFest this weekend across the city that made it a successful event. I always hear a lot of great feedback, so really appreciate everyone that made that happen. And I want to give a shout out to Jason Rains and Paul Shull, who are our 2 new Park Service Unit officers with the Roanoke City Police Department working in our parks and on our greenway. And I've already gotten some positive feedback from people who have seen them out in the community. And I just want to say thank you to them, and I appreciate everyone that's helping us get that program off the ground.
Councilman Hagan.
Again, to echo both GoFest as well as the Melrose Fall Festival, I was able to attend the Melrose Fall Festival, found it to be a great event, and look forward to next year.
Councilman Nash.
I'd like to shout out the Fall Festival that was at the Melrose Library, along with shout out to Michael Hamler, owner of Hamler Curtis Funeral Home. He also has Hamler Properties, and they successfully renovated a old home that was a complete mess over on Loudon, and will soon have someone living in there. And they're about to start work on another home as well. And so I appreciate him and all those that are helping us tackle this housing crisis. And then lastly, I also just want to say a shout out to our local citizens that are federal employees. I've encountered 2 of them, one I know personally, who's also a veteran, but they both worked at the Reuben Lawson Federal Building down here downtown, and they have been furloughed for a few days. And like many furloughed employees, starting to have questions about the bills that are coming up. So I just want to let all those citizens know that I am with you, we are with you, and we pray the best for you.
So my first shout out is going to go to our city staff that helped us put together the Virginia Municipal League Conference last weekend. It was great to have all these leaders from around the city, and there were great feedback about the food, the ambiance, and being in Roanoke. So I'm very grateful for that. And I also wanted to shout out the Roanoke Blacksburg Airport. I was able to make it from the Uber to the plane in 5 minutes. 5 minutes. That's why it's so much better to fly ROA.
Thank you. I want to echo all of my members to the right of me, but I want to do a big shout out. Last week was 30 years that the Discovery Shop has been in business, raising money for cancer. I was able to go and do a proclamation there, but in these past 30 years, they've raised $10 million for cancer. And so my shout out is to all of those volunteer ladies for over the 30 years that have volunteered their time. It's all volunteer. So if you have any items at your house that you're not using, I'd say drop them off at the Discovery Center because it definitely goes to a good cause. Thank you.
Thank you all. I'll just add, this morning I had the opportunity to greet people who were here for the Virginia Neonatal Perinatal Collaborative Summit. It's the 9th annual summit. Roanoke is honored to host it this year. The focus is on maternal health as well as perinatal and neonatal health. And I was happy to share some of the great progress that our Roanoke-based organizations like the Grove on Patterson, which is a home for pregnant or postpartum women with their babies who are also in recovery. Huddle Up Moms, which has an extraordinary program here locally with blood pressure cuffs and a very large diaper bank and support services. CHIP of Roanoke Valley, of course, specializes in maternal and mental health and family health by in-home visits. And Urban Baby Beginnings' new maternal health hub that opened this spring. So we have a lot of extraordinary efforts taking place, and it was good to be with people from all over Virginia doing similar work. So thank you all for
Thank you for that, Mayor,
those
because
shout-outs.
I have a personal story myself with little Timmy. Yeah.
That's right. That's right. It's very important, and many people don't understand how many pregnancies are high risk. So the work is really critical. I'd like to invite our Director of Planning, Building, and Development, Jillian Papa, to join me at the podium, and anyone else you want to bring up with you, Jillian, for a proclamation. So while this proclamation is very brief, it's really important because one of the outstanding programs in Roanoke is being lead safe, right? National Lead Poisoning Prevention Week. Whereas lead exposure to children can result from multiple sources and can cause irreversible and lifelong health effects, whereas lead is especially dangerous to children under the age of 6, whereas lead poisoning is preventable, the key is to keep children from coming into contact with lead. Whereas there are simple steps that can be taken to protect all family members from lead-based paint hazards in the home. And whereas education and awareness about the dangers of lead can help protect the lives of children living in the state of Virginia. Now, therefore, I, Joseph Cobb, Mayor of the City of Roanoke, encourage all citizens to observe this week with appropriate programs and activities designed to enhance public awareness of lead poisoning prevention and ways to protect their families from lead poisoning, and do hereby proclaim October 19 through 2025, throughout this great 8-time All-America city as National Lead Poisoning Prevention Week. Thank you all for your great work, Katie.
This week we're celebrating National Lead Poisoning Prevention Week, and this week we're really highlighting the work that we do year-round, and that is bringing education to lead poisoning. Most of Roanoke's housing stock is built before 1978, which was when lead-based paint was banned. About 88% of our housing stock is built before then, so there is likely lead in homes around the city, and so our program is able to work with families to help mitigate the risk of their home. But this week really is about poisoning prevention, and one of the best things that you can do for your child is to have their blood lead tested just at their regular 1 and 2-year-old wellness appointment. And if their level is elevated, we actually have our friends at the health department will get a call, and then they give us a call. And so every single child that has an elevated level in the city of Roanoke gets a referral to Lead Safe Roanoke. Our goal is within 5 days, contact is made. However, I'm happy to report that we usually have a same-day or next-day turnaround where Marla, our teammate, is out there providing education. One of the best ways for prevention is to keep the lead dust away from kids. Lead poisoning often happens just from regular dust around your home that's combined with lead, and kids about that age put it in their mouth. So we provide cleaning supplies so that families can keep their homes clean until we're able to get in there. And then Liz, our intake coordinator, will assist them in getting enrolled in our program. But it's a really critical resource. We have had, over the last year, 30 children were referred to us from the health department. So, but again, we'll be continuing to do work. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to our office. Anybody? Oh, and our applications for our new grant cycle have opened today. So we are welcoming anybody who is eligible to fill out an application, and we'll get out there and provide services.
Well, we're going to get a picture. Council, anybody want to offer
I just want to say thank you for the program, the Lead Safe program. It is one of our premier ones here in the city. Y'all do an amazing job. And I'm glad to hear that we've been able to help 30 kids this year, and let's hope we can continue that and increase that pace.
I'll just say thank you, Marla. I want to say thank you. I know you helped me a lot when I was in the treasurer's office when we were dealing with people that needed your help, and you've always done a great job, and thank you so much for that.
Thank you very much. And I would love to stay in touch with you if there's a way. I'd like to know more about the data that we have on our youth in the city and how maybe where there are gaps, we could plug that through maybe partnerships with community groups or churches or the schools. Because I know you know, but it's so important to avoid the lead poisoning. And so yeah, thank you so much. It's really important, and we really value the work that you do very much. So thank you.
I'm also thank you.
Get your selfie.
Yours first. There we go. 1, 2, 3. Okay. One more here. 1, 2, 3. Thank you, guys.
Thank you all. I also want to take a moment to welcome and introduce, for those who may not know, sitting in at our city attorney's desk today is one of our deputy city attorneys, David Collins, who's been with the city now close to 25 years. Is that right?
Thank you, Mayor. That is correct.
You don't look much older than that. We're glad you're here today. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, our next item on the agenda is the hearing of citizens upon public matters, and we set this time as a priority for citizens to be heard. All matters will be referred to the city manager for response, recommendation, or report to council as she may deem appropriate. As folks come up to speak today, if you've not been in the chamber before, you'll come up to the podium, to the mic. You'll see in front of you to the right a box that has a timer on it. Every speaker today will have 3 minutes. Green means go, yellow means you have a minute left, and red means stop. If you're mid-sentence, of course, we'll work with each other, and I'll be sure and let you finish up. So, Madam Clerk, do we have speakers signed up today?
Yes, we do.
All right, if you'll
5
call.
speakers.
Okay, if you'll call 2 at a time.
All right. Brian Smith and Brian McConnell.
Reverend Smith, welcome.
Hello,
It's good
Mayor.
to see you.
It
Thank
is
you.
nice to see you, and thank you, City Council, for allowing me the opportunity to speak briefly to a matter that was announced recently about the consideration of a casino at the Berglund Center. I have the blessing of being the pastor of First Baptist Church, which this year celebrates our 150th anniversary as downtown residents right here in the Star City. We are blessed to continue to serve in a city that we love, and having been here 19 years, I've come to love and call home along with the rest of my family. I would ask that we look for other avenues to financially fund the needs in Roanoke City and those businesses, and not engage in pursuing the addition of another casino here in our valley, which I believe, and many of us are concerned, will lead to the reallocation of funds, taking away monies from local businesses and restaurants, also a measurable increase in crime, which is a nationwide statistic, and something that overall would compete in the culture, in the community, for the things that we aspire to have for our citizens and for our fair city. Thank you so much for this time, and we will continue to keep you and all those in our city in our prayers as well. God bless you and have a good day.
Thank you, Reverend Smith. Appreciate it. If we could ask that the signs be kept out in the lobby, please, that would be very helpful. Mr. McConnell, welcome.
Thank you, Mayor Cobb, Madam City Manager, council members, and city staff. I'm grateful once again for this opportunity of appearing before you to convey what I've termed a report from the field involving leadership and governance and prospects for facilitating rapid transformation. I've just, as of yesterday, published the most recent installment to a series of Medium.com articles. This one, appropriately enough, entitled, it's a long title, so bear with me, "As Many Seek Escape from Freedom Amid an Advancing New Fascism, Others Lead from an Emerging Future." I could certainly spend the next 3 minutes unpacking all of that, but the term escape from freedom was one coined by Erich Fromm, a German-born Jewish psychoanalyst, in a book that he published in 1941 by the same title. That's basically a study, and a very, very well-qualified study, of fascism just prior to World War I. And so Fromm was tracking that closely from the early years, even prior to Hitler's assuming the role of chancellor, German chancellor. The second part of that, leading from an emerging future, is kind of the central tagline for the work, theory, and practice of Otto Scharmer's U model. I'm currently engaged, I'm enrolled in an online course. I've been working with MIT in that respect over the last 11 years. And so that U theory and practice is right at the center of what I'm referring here to as prospects for rapid transformation. The way I'm seeing it and aspiring to work with it is kind of a convergence, frankly, between science, psychology, and the translation to governance and leadership. As it involves primarily for me, frankly, education and incarceration here, oddly, not to mention drug opioid deaths and how all of that translates into governance at the state level. So just a heads up. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. McConnell. Madam Clerk?
Our next two speakers, Chris Kraft and Anita Atkins.
Welcome, Mr. Kraft.
Good afternoon, Mr. Cobb, members of City Council. I'm here today because I feel like, personally, I've been slapped in the face by this city. You pick people to be on your commission for the Civic Center, but you making a surprise announcement without even conferring with them. We've had people, especially me, come up and say, "What's going on? What's the deal?" We know nothing. We don't know anything. And that's just slapping us in the face. Because as a member of that committee, I like to be open and honest with everyone. And when they come asking questions, it's hard for me to not share my opinion, which is I'm against it. Because we would lose the home shows, the different events, Craftsman Fall Classic. We would lose all that if we did that with our special event center. And I also come to you and apologize. I gave y'all the wrong amount last time. It's 1,000, not million, when I quoted how much the Civic Center loses because of the gun shows. We need to bring them back. And finally, I don't know if anybody's noticed about the new apartments that was approved years ago up on 460, how well they're coming along. And I'm trying to arrange with the owner, he wants to arrange maybe when the first building is about to open for city council to come and have a tour. Because I'm proud of what's going on in the Wildwood neighborhood. I'm proud, but we'll be 100 years old in about 9 years, which is the best record that I know. And my final point is, we were honored today to have visiting city council, one of the greatest mayors Roanoke's ever had, Ralph Smith. And he did a great job, and I'm sure that if the city council listens to the citizens about having no casino, then we will keep up the good work as an all-American city.
Thank you, Mr. Kraft. Welcome, Ms. Atkins.
Thanks for allowing me to speak, Mayor Cobb and rest of the council members. Just a couple points. I do not want the casino brought here. I've been in a casino myself. I've seen children left outside of the casino floor so their parents could gamble. We really don't want that for our children. That just concerns me, and I appreciate you considering my thoughts on this. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Our next speakers are Ralph Smith and Sarah Kohler.
Welcome, Mayor.
Well, thank you, Mayor, members of council. First thing, you were doing shout outs, and I have to do a shout out. I have not been in this council chamber for a few years, been retired from politics, political positions. But thank you for keeping the business dress. Your counterparts in cities and towns around us think it's okay to come in shorts, polo shirts, and there's ties everywhere. And it's looking good. Thank you for that. I am here about my concern for the Civic Center. Back in my day, which was over 2 decades ago, we had a serious management problem with the Civic Center. We went through a whole lot. In bringing that up, I know nothing about the current, so I'm not suggesting in any way that that's a problem today. But it was then, and one of the things, the duties I did as mayor is went and talked to our counterpart over in Salem. We got to partnering, and I even, at that point in time, tried to attract their management to come over here and run our Civic Center. They have a reputation, they do a great job. And I'm not sure that it's a point in the future that 2 civic centers could be managed by the same entity, whatever that put together. Way back then, we thought of sharing some water services. That's turned out pretty good. So I would encourage you to talk to them. Because one thing I saw back then, and back in my days when I ran a business, it was easier to do business with Salem than it was in Roanoke City. Did business with both of them. But why is that? And I invite you to talk to those who put on concerts, promote trade shows. Ask them why it's easier to do business there than it is here. Of course, I have many reasons to say, let's raise the money. Let's figure out how to be more efficient and find new business for the Civic Center without this idea. Don't put Roanoke on the list of troubled cities in Virginia. You make a list of troubled cities in Virginia, for the most part, they have casinos. Let's go be one of them. Anyway, thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mayor Smith. Mayor Smith, if you could come up just for one more minute. No, I wanted to just share with you that I had the opportunity recently to lead a delegation to our sister city in Wonju, South Korea. And I know that you spent some time there during your time as mayor, and I saw some photographs in the history portion of the School of Medicine and the medical college there, and I just wanted to share that, that's part of your legacy.
It's still there?
It's still there.
Well, they were wonderful experiences.
Yeah, thank you very
And
much.
they're good sisters.
Yeah, thank you so much. Hi, welcome.
Thank you. Mr. Mayor, City Council members, and others, thank you for your service. We don't have a clue how much that is. But I want to thank you for the opportunity to address my concerns in opposition to the possibility of having the Berglund Center turned into a casino. I come from 4 generations of my family residing in the Roanoke Valley. My husband Bill and I live in Roanoke City. He also hoped to be here to speak to you, however, he is undergoing chemo treatments and not ready to do that. My great-grandfather, John C. Mumaw, one of the forward-thinking citizens, was instrumental in bringing the railroad to then Big Lick. He rode by horseback at night with money collected to encourage the railroad to be established here. He and others invested here in a positive way to encourage growth and development. The possibility of a casino in Roanoke is not a positive investment. Yes, it might bring in some revenue, but the cost to countless people would not be in the right direction. Today, I received a letter from a friend who told about his friend who was dealing with gambling addiction. Very timely to get it today. It had resulted in being in trouble with loan sharks to whom he was indebted because he needed money to feed his addiction. People of all socioeconomic levels, but especially the poor, often turn to gambling to get money, relief, only to fall further into trouble. Speaking of addiction, my father-in-law was addicted to alcohol and several times got into big financial problems. His family being greatly affected even today, with children and grandchildren dealing with that alcohol addiction themselves. Whether alcohol or gambling addiction, the outcomes are frequently equally disastrous. Let's not give in to the heavy pressures of the gambling industry. Richmond has voted twice against a casino being developed there. Let's not even present it to be voted upon. Mayor, council members, let's stop the quest here and now. Roanoke has so much going for it. It's a great place to be. Personally, after living and working for years in Europe and in Asia and visiting all 50 states, there's no place like home. Roanoke. Let's put our vision, our efforts, and our resources in continuing to build a positive, a productive place to live. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We appreciate you coming. All right. Well, thanks to everyone who came out to speak today during this time. We are grateful. Going to move now to our consent agenda. All matters listed under the consent agenda are considered to be routine by members of the City Council and will be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of the items. If discussion is desired, the item may be removed from the consent agenda and considered separately. We have 6 requests for closed meetings as part of the consent agenda. One is from my office to discuss the council's code of conduct and ethics pursuant to section 2.2-3711A1 Code of Virginia. And we have 5 from the city attorney to consult with legal counsel regarding actual litigation pursuant to Section 2.2-3711A7 Code of Virginia, to discuss possible disposal of publicly owned property in the central part of the city pursuant to Section 2.2-3711A3 Code of Virginia, to discuss possible disposal of publicly owned property in the central part of the city pursuant to Section 2.2-3711A3 Code of Virginia, to consult with legal counsel regarding the city's legal options involving city property in the South Roanoke area of the city pursuant to Section 2.2-3711A8 Code of Virginia, and to discuss possible disposal of public-owned property in the central part of the city pursuant to Section 2.2-3711A3 Code of Virginia. With all of that in mind, I'll entertain a motion and second on approval of the consent agenda.
I make the motion.
Second.
Thank you, Council Members Powers and Volleson. Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Vice Mayor McGuire.
Aye.
Mr. Nash.
Aye.
Mr. Volleson.
Aye.
Ms. Powers.
Aye.
Mr. Hagan.
Aye.
Ms. Sanchez Jones. And Mayor Cobb.
Aye, and the consent agenda is approved. Move now into our regular agenda. Under petitions and communications, we have appropriation of funds as reimbursement to the city treasurer as a licensed agency of the Virginia Department of Motor Vehicles, our DMV Select program, and we have one measure, a budget ordinance, and I'll entertain a motion and second.
I move the motion.
Second.
Thank you, Council Members Powers and Sanchez Jones. Madam Clerk, will you please read the title paragraph?
An ordinance to appropriate funding from the U.S. Department of Transportation through the Commonwealth of Virginia Department of Motor Vehicles to be a licensed agent called a DMV Select Office, amending and reordaining certain sections of the 2025-2026 General Fund and Grant Fund appropriations, and dispensing with the second reading by title of this ordinance.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Ms. Turner, do you have anything to add to this matter?
But Mr. Kraft is here should you need, have any questions.
Okay. Any discussion by council?
I'd just like to say thank you, Jonathan. I know what kind of work you guys do down there with that, and it was a great program to bring here to our city back in 2017. So I want to thank y'all for everything you do. I love using it. Now that I'm retired, I get to come down here and do it really quick. But thank y'all for everything you do.
Yeah, I will just echo that. It's lovely to be able to conduct some DMV business right here in the heart of the city. So thank you all for helping provide that service. Any other discussion? All right, Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Vice Mayor McGuire.
Aye.
Mr. Nash.
Aye.
Mr. Volleson.
Aye.
Ms. Powers.
Aye.
Mr. Hagan. Ms. Sanchez Jones. Mayor Cobb.
Aye, and the budget ordinance is adopted. Our next item on the agenda are the reports of city officers and the city manager. And I will call on our city manager, Ms. Val-Marie Turner, to introduce our briefing from the Roanoke City and Allegheny Health Districts.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Vice Mayor, and members of City Council. Please allow me to introduce Dr. Cynthia Merrill. Dr. Merrill is the Health Director of the Roanoke City and Allegheny County Health Districts, and she is here to present the Health Department's annual report. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, City Council members. Thank you, City Manager, and all of the staff here. It's always an honor and a pleasure. I had the pleasure of meeting with you some time ago now, well, actually just a couple weeks ago, to do a more extensive overview of the state of the city's health, and just a reminder of the services that we provide. We are in this together. We serve you, we serve our constituents, and I think it's really important for me to be up here and share with you where we are and what we do. I know I've seen many of you here before, so it's always fun to be here. So what I'm just going to do is a review of select data points. I have a lot more data for those of you who are interested. I can meet with you separately. Whatever is your interest, I can make that happen. A very brief review of some of the services that we provide, and really time to talk at your whatever it is that you need from me. Again, we share the goal of publicly serving our community. And I do think, just reflecting on what's already happened today, we've talked about maternal and child health, we've talked about lead. These are things that, of course, are near and dear to the hearts of those of us in public health. So there is something called the County Health Rankings. Some of you have seen this before. It is Robert Wood Johnson Foundation funded. It is the ability, it's a website that allows anybody anywhere in the United States the opportunity to go and look at the health of the locality that they live in. And so if we look at the county health rankings, what they do is they put it on a spectrum of healthiness of the communities. And so this is Virginia, and then when we hone in to Roanoke City and the localities that I serve, you can see that Roanoke City is in the lowest quartile in terms of health outcomes. And of course, we want to ensure that we're doing everything in our power to have everybody be healthy. The role of public health is to assure the conditions in which people can be healthy. So when we look at a more granular level, again, these are data from the county health rankings that are curated from a lot of different sources. We can see that in terms of premature death, we used to talk a lot about life expectancy, and you can see years of potential life loss in the left corner. We really looked now towards what are those preventable deaths? What are those things that are killing people before the age of 75? Those are what we call preventable years of life lost. And so if we look at premature death, we're pretty much double Virginia here in Roanoke City. If we look at the trend, now I have to show that the upward swing is in large part because there are significant delays in data, in mortality data, and so that steep increase reflects the COVID pandemic. In case anyone has forgotten, it was real, it was significant, and you can see that in the lives lost, of potential life years lost. That has come back down, but what I'm concerned about is that trend way prior to the COVID pandemic of increasing potential years of life lost, certainly relative to the state and to the country, we are doing worse than we can and should be doing, and that is our job to work together to try to minimize those losses. If we look specifically at the causes of death under the age of 75, cancer is not surprisingly at the top. Cardiovascular disease is the #1 killer of death in the country. However, as we get older, we do expect we're going to have to die to something. And so what we see is that diseases of the heart tend to affect older people compared to cancer, which affects younger people, which means that it's disproportionately affecting lives younger than 75. Does that make sense? And then accidents. So what's really critical here, and we're going to see some good news for Roanoke, is that the way that deaths are categorized, substance use disorder deaths, fatal overdoses are included in accidental deaths. So that's why it's so high. And then we see chronic disease, diabetes, and again, these are data that are a couple of years old. They're the most current data, but they're a couple of years old. So COVID-19 was still a very significant cause of death. If we look at the community health assessment that Carillion and Healthy Roanoke Valley lead, the 3 priorities for the 2024 community health assessment are chronic disease. We just saw the impact of chronic disease, cancer, heart disease, diabetes, mental health, substance use, and I know that this is something that council is very interested in, is injury and violence. And so I'm just going to go through a couple of data points for each one of these. If we look at cancer, you can see that Roanoke is not, it's not as bad as some places, but we could do better. So we're that light blue. If we look at cardiovascular disease, again, it's a little bit hard to see, but you can hone in on these. Roanoke City is disproportionately impacted by cardiovascular disease, both by hospitalization rates and by mortality rates. So we look at things by how many people are hospitalized and also how many people die. This is one that's a little bit eye-opening. Every time I see it, it kind of makes me gasp a little bit. I know this made you gasp a little bit. The red arrow is where Roanoke City is. And so you can see that on all of these indicators, we have a lot of room for improvement. We have a lot of opportunity for improvement. So I just wanted to demonstrate that as a general rule, Roanoke City, we have preventable poor health outcomes, and we need to continue to work together to try to minimize those poor health outcomes. With respect to substance use disorder, this is an old slide. It's the most current one that we have, but this is just the impact of substance use disorder. Virginia did this for every locality. You can see, I pulled up Roanoke City, but this is the actual cost. So when we're talking about recouping costs or minimizing expenses, the more we invest in substance use disorder prevention and treatment, the lower our costs to society are. The good news is that Roanoke City, we were eligible for grants based on how high our numbers were. Our numbers have come down disproportionately. So we've seen substance use disorder hospitalizations, ED visits, hospitalizations, and mortality, fatal overdoses decrease. And Roanoke City has disproportionately decreased in a very good way. So and we're gonna see some in the services in a bit. And then I know that this is something that's very important. This one came from Carilion Clinic's 2024 Community Health Assessment, but you can see that we are far too high from deaths associated with firearms. And these are data that are from the VDH website. Unintentional injury death and hospitalizations for assault injuries. You can see that we're pretty much off the chart. So these are areas that we need to continue to work together on. And then just other areas of interest. When I was here a couple of years ago, we talked a lot about teen STI and teen STI rates. And so I wanted to share that our STI rates still are disproportionately high. However, we're seeing decreases in 2025. So again, that's good news for us. What we're doing is making a difference. And then the last slide in terms of these data points, I've also been here in the past to talk about our teen pregnancy rates. Our teen pregnancy rates are disproportionately high, but they are also decreasing. So that's sort of a broad overview of some data points. If there are other areas that you're interested in, let me know, and I'll try to find the most current data. But I really also wanted to share with you what we do to try to address those conditions. And what you have in front of you is a detailed annual report. It is really important to us at the Health Department that we provide you with transparency of the services that we provide for the hard-earned taxpayer dollars that our citizens support us with. So this is an overview of all of our services, and I just wanted to highlight some of the things that we do. So in 2024, we provided over 1,500 family planning visits, over 3,600 immunizations. You guys can read this. We talked about lead. Now this is for the entire health district, but 80 services related to case management of people with elevated blood lead levels. We will follow someone for years if that's how long it takes. So some of these cases are are children who we've been following, and I cannot speak highly enough of your Lead Safe program. It is amazing. We are so thankful for the partnership that we have with Lead Safe. And these are just various other things that we do to support the health of every Roanoke City resident. In addition, our job is to assure the conditions in which people can be healthy. So we want to make sure that you feel comfortable when you go to a restaurant. Here are just our food establishment permits. We did over 1,000 food inspections. We did over 320 rabies investigations. I know, so our environmental health, those are just some of the things that we do. And then in terms of other services that we provided over 80 car seats and cribs. From a preventable cause of death perspective, children under the age of 1, if we're thinking about preventable causes of death, unsafe sleep environments and car accidents are right up there. So we provide opportunities for people to ensure that their children are in safe places. With respect to substance use disorder, so I tried to break these down a little bit. With respect to substance use disorder, we provided over 900 Narcan education events, people and distribution of Narcan, over 1,700 fentanyl test strips, as well as xylazine test strips. We have the highest rate of distribution of Narcan in the state. And that's because of the work that we do with our community partners, with our first responders, it's really, we have done an incredible job with getting Narcan out there. We provide over 15,000 death certificates and birth certificates. And one thing that, of course, is something that we're all worried about right now is that every single month we provide over 5,000 people with WIC services. So just to end, hopefully it's evident, but what we do matters. And I want to thank you for continually supporting the work that we do. I know that we have a true partnership here, and I just want to know I want you to know that my job is to serve you. So in any way that you need our services, you need information, anything that we can do, our job is to serve you. So any questions?
Thank you, Dr. Morrow.
Thank you for that presentation. It was very, very
Absolutely.
information, and I had no idea all this stuff that you do. Thank you.
Oh, you're so welcome. It is a true pleasure.
I would say it's a great presentation, but it's also very eye-opening. That there's a lot that we need to do here in the Valley to make sure that we're improving health. So I appreciate your partnership, and please let us know what we can do to help reduce that number, or the number of people that are having diseases here in the Valley.
Thank you. We will, and I know I have a great partner across the city, so we feel very fortunate. And I know that if there's a specific need, I can come and talk to you, and we'll figure it out together.
Well, I would just like to add gratitude to you and partners in the city for doing everything you can to keep us healthy, acknowledging where our challenges are. I love that the health department is out at nearly every festival. And if I ever need to check my status with vaccines, whether it's COVID or flu or anything else, you all are right there and helpful. And if I haven't had my flu vaccine, your team is quick to say, well, just sit down right here and we'll take care of it.
I think that you just reminded me that I should have started with, it is respiratory virus syndrome, so it's season. So please, flu shots, COVID shots, RSV shots, best tool we have to prevent poor illness. Thank you.
And I thank you for sharing what you did about harm reduction and being the number one, having the highest rate of Narcan distribution in the state. One of our challenges with substance use disorder is when we see the physical manifestations of that in front of our eyes, whether it's someone we don't know or someone that's dear to us, it can be very startling and concerning. And knowing that we have such dedicated partners to saving lives, the fact that we're seeing overdoses in general decline significantly and overdose deaths specifically decline is really important for us to hear as a city. So, and it's not just about the city. I mean, it's happening everywhere. But the intersection of that with homelessness, people experiencing that along with mental health challenges, to know that we're making progress and helping connect people with the resources they need early on to prevent death and illness is really powerful. So thank you for reminding us of that today.
Absolutely, and I'm going to get a little personal. My husband was born here, but we moved a long time ago. But he moved when he was just a baby, and we moved here about 8 years ago. I heard other stories of people who moved here. In the last year, my sister and her husband have relocated to the Valley. My son and his partner have moved to Roanoke City. The partnerships and the collaboration across different community organizations is unbelievable. And it makes our job at the health department so much easier knowing that we have unbelievably dedicated human and health services here, community-based organizations, and a true dedication to doing what we need to do to improve the health and economy of Roanoke City. And I'm very proud to now be a Roanoker and to bring my family with me.
Thank you, Dr. Morrow.
Absolutely.
Any other questions? All right.
Question.
Yes,
I have
Mr.
a
Nash.
question. Do you know, have you seen a increase in tranq utilization or the deaths from tranq because that's something that it's probably one of the more noticeable drugs when an individual has utilized it. You can kind of see the physical effects of it kind of play out in front of your face. So I'm just wondering, I know that I don't believe that formerly during autopsies, we were testing for that to really have like hard numbers on how much, and I can never say the name of the drug, starts with a Z, to know how much of that, was in someone's system or is associated with deaths that we're seeing. So do you have any information on that?
So I'd have to defer to the Office of the Medical Examiners, OCME. They do publish those data on the website. We just, a week and a half ago, had our Peaks and Valleys presentation, which is our presentation to the community about all of the data related to substance use disorder. And in there is a breakdown by substance, and we can absolutely make that available to City Council. So it'll go into which drugs are attributed to the fatal overdoses. Now, one thing that we have to be a little bit careful of is that many fatal overdoses, it's a combination of drugs, and so knowing exactly which one it is really difficult.
Yeah, definitely.
But we can get that report to you, no problem.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm going to move now to our items recommended for action, and item A is the acceptance and appropriation of the fiscal year 26-4 for life payment. Our the first measure is an ordinance, and I'll entertain a motion and second.
Move the ordinance. Second.
Thank you, Council Members Volleson and Hagan. Madam Clerk, will you please read the title paragraph?
An ordinance authorizing acceptance of the Commonwealth of Virginia Department of Health FY 26-4 for life payment for emergency medical services made to the city of Roanoke, authorizing execution of any required documents on behalf of the city, appropriating funds detailed more fully infra, and dispensing with the second reading of this ordinance by title.
Thank you. Ms. Turner, do you have anything to add?
I do. This is an annual pass-through funding, and these funds will be used to support emergency medical services delivery within the city of Roanoke.
Thank you. Any discussion by council? All right, Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Vice Mayor McGuire.
Aye.
Mr. Nash.
Aye.
Mr. Volleson.
Aye.
Ms. Powers. Mr. Hagan. Ms. Sanchez Jones is out, and Mayor Cobb.
Aye, and the ordinance is adopted. Item B is the acceptance of Virginia Department of Emergency Management pass-through funding. There's one measure and ordinance, and I'll entertain a motion and second, please.
Move the ordinance. Second.
Thank you, Council Members Volleson and Nash. Madam Clerk, will you please read the title paragraph?
An ordinance authorizing the acceptance of the Commonwealth of Virginia Department of Emergency Management pass-through funding and reimbursements for the Hazardous Materials Response Team to the city from VDEM for FY 25 and FY 26, authorizing the city of Roanoke and the Roanoke Fire EMS to serve as fiscal agents for the distribution of the grant funds, authorizing execution of any required documents on behalf of the city, appropriating grant funds detailed more fully infra, and dispensing with the second reading of this ordinance by title.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Any additional comments?
Yes, thank you. This is another annual pass-through funding grant, and it will be used to support the regional hazmat team.
Any discussion or questions from council? Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Vice Mayor McGuire.
Aye.
Mr. Nash.
Aye.
Mr. Volleson.
Aye.
Ms. Powers. Mr. Hagan.
Aye.
Ms. Sanchez is out, and Mayor Cobb.
Aye, and the ordinance is adopted. Item C is the acceptance and appropriation of kinship support funds from the Virginia Department of Social Services. We have one measure and ordinance, and I'll entertain a motion and second.
Move the ordinance.
Thank you, Council Members Hagan and Nash. Madam Clerk, will you please read the title paragraph?
An ordinance authorizing the acceptance of kinship support funds from the Commonwealth of Virginia Department of Social Services to the city of Roanoke on behalf of the city of Roanoke Department of Social Services, authorizing execution of any required documentation on behalf of the city required to accept such funding, appropriating funds detailed to more fully infra, and dispensing with the second reading of this ordinance by title.
Thank you. Ms. Turner, any additional comments?
Just a brief overview of what kinship is. Kinship is the placement of children with relatives, whether they're grandparents, uncles, aunts, which allows the child to maintain connected with their family and community, especially when they're going through foster care placement. And this particular fund will provide support, financial support to the relatives who care for their kin in order to promote stronger connections to birth families. The department has used the kinship support funds to purchase beds, pay for childcare, and transportation.
Any questions or discussion from council? Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Vice Mayor McGuire.
Aye.
Mr. Nash.
Aye.
Mr. Volleson.
Aye.
Ms. Powers. Mr. Hagan. Ms. Sanchez Jones is away, and Mayor Cobb.
Aye, and the ordinance is adopted. Item D is the acceptance of the fiscal year 26 Virginia Department of Transportation State of Good Repair Grant Award for ADA ramp improvements and paving for Williamson Road Northwest. We have one measure and ordinance, and I'll entertain a motion and second.
Move the ordinance.
Second.
Thank you, council members Volleson and Powers. Madam Clerk, will you please read the title paragraph?
An ordinance authorizing the acceptance of the FY 2026 State of Good Repair Grant Award from the Commonwealth of Virginia Department of Transportation for the ADA ramp, improvements and paving along Williamson Road Northwest, authorizing execution of the VDOT Standard Project Administration Agreement and any required documents on behalf of the city, appropriating funds detailed more fully infra, and dispensing with the second reading of this ordinance by title.
Thank you. Ms. Turner, any additional comments?
I do. This locally administered project is valued at about $1.5 million and requires no local match and will enhance accessibility and roadway conditions.
Thank you. Discussion by council? All right, Mr. Nash?
For the, where this money is planning to be used at along Williamson Road, is that in the area of the road diet or in another area along Williamson Road?
So
Where exactly?
specifically, it's on Williamson Road Northwest from Fleming Avenue Northwest to the Roanoke County line.
We're so long, I'm like,
Which part?
like where it
Good
starts?
question. Any other questions or comments? All right, Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Vice Mayor McGuire.
Aye.
Mr. Nash.
Aye.
Mr. Volleson. Ms. Powers.
Aye.
Mr. Hagan. Ms. Sanchez Jones is out, and Mayor Cobb.
Aye, and the ordinance is adopted. Item E is the acquisition of property rights in connection with the Public Works Service Center improvements. We have one measure and ordinance, and I'll entertain a motion and second, please.
Ordinance. Second.
Thank you, council members Nash and Volleson. Madam Clerk, will you please read the title paragraph?
An ordinance providing for the acquisition of real property rights needed by the city of Roanoke in connection with Public Works Service Center improvements, authorizing city staff to acquire such property rights by negotiation for the city, authorizing the city manager or designee to execute appropriate acquisition documents, and dispensing with the second reading of this ordinance by title.
Thank you. Ms. Turner?
Thank you. The city of Roanoke plans to construct a new sidewalk along Cortland Road Northeast as part of improvements to the Public Works Service Center. The sidewalk is required by city zoning code and part of a larger project to modernize the city fueling station at the Public Works Service Center. Acquisition of real property rights from affected property owners is necessary to construct the sidewalk.
Thank you. Any questions or comments from council? Thank you. Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Vice Mayor McGuire.
Aye.
Mr. Nash.
Aye.
Mr. Volleson. Ms. Powers. Mr. Hagan.
Aye.
Ms. Sanchez Jones. And Mayor Cobb.
Aye, and the ordinance is adopted. Item F is the,
Excuse me, Mayor
Yes.
Cobb. This next item concerns a grant that will involve funds that will benefit Roanoke City Schools in part, a encourage walking to school program. And as such, Vice Mayor McGuire and Councilmember Vivian Sanchez Jones have a potential conflict of interest as they are employees of Roanoke City Public Schools. And for that reason, I would request that they sign the conflict of interest statement and read it into the record and recuse themselves from voting on this particular item.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Collins. I'm going to announce the item, and then I'll have Vice Mayor and Councilwoman Sanchez Jones read their statements. This item is the acceptance and appropriation of the fiscal year 26 Department of Motor Vehicles Highway Safety Grant, City of Roanoke Walk and Roll to School Spring Safety Campaign. Vice Mayor?
I, Stephen Terry McGuire, state that I have a personal interest in Agenda Item 7F regarding acceptance and appropriation of the FY 2026 Department of Motor Vehicles Highway Safety Grant, City of Roanoke Walk and Roll to School Spring Safety Campaign, which benefits Roanoke City Public Schools because I am an employee of Roanoke City Public Schools, and as an employee, I have a personal interest in this transaction. Therefore, in accordance with Virginia Code Section 2.2-3112, I will refrain from participation in this matter. I ask that the city clerk accept this statement and ask that it be made a part of the minutes of this meeting. I'll witness the following signature made this 20th day of October 2025.
Thank you for your thorough reading of that. Into the record.
Can I just say, me too?
No.
I, Vivian Sanchez Jones, state that I have a personal interest in the agenda item 7F regarding acceptance and appropriation of the FY 2026 Department of Motor Vehicles Highway Safety Grant, City of Roanoke Walk and Roll to School Spring Safety Campaign, which benefits Roanoke City Public Schools because I am an employee of Roanoke City Public Schools, and as an employee, I have a personal interest in this transaction. Therefore, in accordance with Virginia Code Section 2.2-3112, I will refrain from participating in this matter. I ask that the city clerk accept the statement and ask that it be made part of the minutes of this meeting. Witness following this on the 20th day of October 2025.
So in other words, you get to enjoy a little bit of recess time right now. All right. We have one measure, an ordinance, and I need a motion and second on the ordinance, please.
Move the ordinance? I'll second.
Thank you, Council Members Volleson and Hagan. Madam Clerk, will you please read the title paragraph?
An ordinance authorizing the acceptance of the FY 2026 Virginia Department of Motor Vehicles Highway Safety Grant funds from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration to the City of Roanoke for the Walk and Roll to School Spring Safety Campaign, authorizing execution of any required documents on behalf of the city, appropriating funds more fully infra, and dispensing with the second reading of this ordinance by title.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Ms. Turner?
This initiative promotes pedestrian and bicycle safety, encourages slower speeds in school zones, and builds on prior citywide safety campaigns.
Thank you. Any discussion by council?
I would just add that this is timely because recently in the news, I saw some folks that live in the Preston Park neighborhood area talking about their concerns with speeding and a lot of cars running stop signs, and a gentleman that was jogging almost getting hit by a car. So I'm glad that us as a city we as a city are taking these types of steps so that our citizens know that we're serious about keeping them safe.
I was literally going to say pretty much exactly that. Thank you, Councilman Nash. This is something which I think is well needed. Obviously, making sure that we have access to bikes and walkable cities is very important.
Yes, thank you all. We have too many neighborhood speedways in the city, and I realize that probably the people that need to hear this are not tuning in today. But consider this a public service announcement, that it is absolutely critical that not only in our neighborhoods, but in neighborhoods that have schools, to really pay close attention. Kids love to play outside, and we want to make sure that everyone is kept safe from injury or harm. So this type of campaign will be significant in aiding us in that work. All right, Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Mr. Nash? Aye. Mr. Volleson? Aye. Ms. Powers? Aye. Mr. Hagan?
Aye.
Mayor Cobb?
Aye, and the ordinance is adopted. Thank you. Vice Mayor and Councilwoman, you can come back up. Thank you. Item G is the execution of Amendment Number 3 to the contract C22-4120-054 with Alta Planning and Design Incorporated. We have one measure, a resolution, and I'll entertain a motion and second.
Move the resolution.
Second.
Thank you, Councilmembers Hagan and Nash. Madam Clerk, will you please read the title paragraph?
A resolution authorizing the city manager's issuance and execution of Amendment Number 3 to the City of Roanoke's contract with Alta Planning and Design, Inc. to increase the Department of Motor Vehicles pass-through grant funds from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, and authorizing the city manager or designee to take certain other actions in connection with such Amendment Number 3.
Thank you. Any discussion by members of council? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Vice Mayor McGuire?
Aye.
Mr. Nash?
Aye.
Mr. Volleson?
Aye.
Ms. Powers?
Aye.
Mr. Hagan?
Aye.
Ms. Sanchez Jones?
Aye.
Mayor Cobb?
Aye, and the resolution is adopted. Item H is the acceptance and appropriation of increased funds for the Greater Roanoke and New River Valley Small Business Development Center for calendar year 2025. And we have one measure, an ordinance, and I'll entertain a motion and second.
Move the ordinance.
Second.
Thank you, Council Members Hagan and Nash. Madam Clerk, will you please read the title paragraph?
An ordinance authorizing the acceptance of increased funds for calendar year 2025 Greater Roanoke and New River Valley Small Business Development Center Award, issued by George Mason University for the United States Small Business Administration to the City of Roanoke, appropriating calendar year 2025 grant funds detailed more fully infra, authorizing the city manager or designee to execute any necessary documents necessary to accept such funds, and dispensing with the second reading of this ordinance by title.
Thank you, and we're pleased to welcome Ms. Heather Fay, the Director of the Small Business Development Center. Thank you for being here today.
You're welcome. Thank you for the opportunity. Thank you for serving as our fiscal host. This is the third and final allotment of funding for our calendar year 2025 that was pre-approved prior to the federal government shutdown. So we're glad to have all that paperwork in. And I just wanted to offer any questions or you all have.
Thank you. Any questions?
I have a
Ms.
question.
Powers?
I have a question. You have in your report here that you work with consultants.
Yes.
Can you just tell me what type of consultants that do you use to operate this?
Great question. So we currently only have one consultant on staff, who is Tom Tanner, who is our previous lead advisor. He manages our VetBiz program, and he works with businesses that need help with their accounting and their QuickBooks and accessing capital. So that's his primary role.
Good. Thank you very
You're
much
welcome.
for that.
And we'll be expanding that to include some other areas of service.
Well, that's nice to hear that, because I know I often heard when I was in Treasury's office that I didn't know I had to pay meals tax.
Yes, we get that all the time. I have to pay taxes.
I know, I didn't know I had to do that. So
Yes.
that's great to hear that's what he's doing.
Yes, he is
now.
our guru in navigating all the things to make sure everybody's in compliance. So just getting them in the door. The finances are the fun word that nobody wants to talk about.
Well, thank you. And
You're
I know when you file your taxes and you do your Schedule C, it's an itty-bitty little print that says that you must call your commissioner of the revenue in your locality to see if a business license is need it.
Yes.
I have never had anybody tell me, oh, I knew that.
Me either.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Other questions? Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Vice Mayor McGuire.
Aye.
Mr. Nash.
Aye.
Mr. Volleson.
Aye.
Ms. Powers.
Aye.
Mr. Hagan.
Aye.
Ms. Sanchez Jones is out. And Mayor Cobb.
Aye, and the ordinance is adopted. Stick around.
Got
Because
one more for you.
Item I is acceptance and appropriation of additional funds for the Greater Roanoke and New River Valley Small Business Development Center for fiscal year '26. We have one measure and ordinance, and I'll entertain a motion and second.
Move the ordinance.
Second.
Okay, thank you, council members Hagan and Nash. Madam Clerk, will you please read the title paragraph?
Yes. I don't believe I have that one.
Was posted. I mean, it was.
An ordinance authorizing acceptance and appropriation of the program year 2025 entitlement funds for the United States Department of Urban Development, the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development.
No, that's not it.
That's not it?
No, that's not it.
All right. Just 1 minute.
I have it here on my laptop if you want to read it from here.
Let me step back one. Let's read it from here. I apologize. We'll get a copy of this one. An ordinance authorizing the acceptance of additional funds for the FY 2026 Greater Roanoke New River Valley Small Business Development Center award issued by George Mason University for the United States Small Business Administration to the City of Roanoke, appropriating FY 2026 grant funds detailed more fully infra, and authorizing the city manager or designee to execute any necessary documents necessary to accept such funds, and dispensing with the second reading of this ordinance by title.
Ms. Fay, do you have anything to add to that?
I do want to share with you all, this is a completely separate funding from the Small Business Administration. This is from the General Assembly. They have, for the first time in 25 years, have funded the SBDC. And so that funding was distributed across the 25 different centers. So we were allocated $33,146 to support additional delivery. So to your point, Ms. Powers, we will be hiring into some additional support on some areas that we're determining need the most focus on our team, that there are some skill gaps. So excited to be able to be more supportive of our small businesses.
Thank you very much. I know that the work that you do, I know from experience, from dealing with businesses here, that you've helped them, and that's just great. You know, they want to do their business, and, you know, but trying to learn all of the different taxes and the forms you have to fill out and the deadlines, so it's a lot. And then people get confused. Do you mean there's a Roanoke County and a Roanoke City? And our deadlines are different, so thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you for your support.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, I think we're ready to call the roll.
Vice Mayor McGuire.
Aye.
Mr. Nash.
Aye.
Mr. Volleson. Ms. Powers.
Aye.
Mr. Hagan.
Aye.
Ms. Sanchez Jones is out, and Mayor Cobb.
Aye, and the ordinance is adopted.
Thank
Item-
you all.
Thank you very much. Item J is the acceptance and appropriation of the Department of Housing and Urban Development, HUD, fiscal year '25 entitlement funds. And council, you should have a revised version of this on your desk. There's one measure and ordinance, and I need a motion and second on the ordinance.
Move the ordinance.
Second.
Thank you, council members Volleson and Nash. And Madam Clerk, will you please read the title paragraph?
An ordinance authorizing acceptance and appropriation of program year 2025 entitlement funds from the United States Department of Housing and Urban Development for the Community Development Block Grant Program, Home Investment Partnership Program, and Emergency Solutions Grant, appropriating 2025 and 2026 grant funds detailed more fully infra, and dispensing with the second reading of this ordinance by title.
Thank you. Ms. Turner?
Yes, thank you. If you remember, City Council voted and approved the 5-year consolidated plan as well as the annual action plan on August 4th of 2025. And that outlined the spending priorities and the spending plan for the CDBG home and ESG programs. Specifically, the CDBG is about 1.8 million. Home is about 575,000, and ESG is around 159,000.
Thank you. Questions or comments by council?
Take a comment, Mayor?
Yes.
I know that we're always grateful for these funds from the federal government, but I do hope that, we realize that at some point, they realize that there is a housing crisis going on and will increase the amounts, especially for our homeless. I mean, we've been getting the same amount for such a long time, and the need is so dire. I really hope that that is something that will change on the federal level.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? All right, Madam Clerk, we are ready to vote.
Vice Mayor McGuire. Mr. Nash.
Aye.
Mr. Volleson.
Aye.
Ms. Powers. Mr. Hagan. Ms. Sanchez Jones. And Mayor Cobb.
Aye, and the ordinance is adopted. Thanks to everyone for your work on that. Item K is the acceptance of the staffing for adequate fire and emergency response grant. We have one measure and ordinance, and I'll entertain a motion and second, please.
Move the ordinance.
Second.
Thank you, council members Hagan and Sanchez Jones. Madam Clerk, will you please read the title paragraph?
An ordinance authorizing the acceptance of the staffing for adequate fire and emergency response grant funds made to the City of Roanoke by the Federal Emergency Management Agency, authorizing the execution of any required documentation on behalf of the city, appropriating fiscal year 2024 grant funds detailed more fully infra, and dispensing with the second reading of this ordinance by title.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Ms. Turner?
This grant allows us to bring on 9 new entry-level firefighters for a period of 3 years. So we are hopeful that they shut down in soon, so I can accept that grant.
Thank you. Any discussion by council? Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Vice Mayor McGuire.
Aye.
Mr. Nash.
Aye.
Mr. Volleson.
Aye.
Ms. Powers. Mr. Hagan.
Aye.
Ms. Sanchez Jones. And Mayor Cobb.
Aye, and the ordinance is adopted. Item L is the approval and acceptance of the Parks and Recreation 5-year master plan update. We have one measure and ordinance, and I'll entertain a motion and second.
Move the ordinance.
Second.
Did you move that?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Councilmembers Nash and Volleson. Madam Clerk, will you please read the title paragraph?
An ordinance approving the 5-year update to the master plan for the Parks and Recreation Department of the City of Roanoke, authorizing the city to execute any required documentation on behalf of the city, and dispensing with the second reading of this ordinance by title.
Thank you. Any discussion by members of council? Vice Mayor.
Thanks, Mayor. I just want to again say thank you to the Parks and Rec team for their work on this, and also for making the time to meet with us individually and to walk through the update. And I just I'm really impressed with what we do in our Parks and Rec department and where we are in the at the 5-year mark. I think we have a lot more to do, so I look forward to that, but really appreciate the work on this.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Any other discussion? All right, Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Vice Mayor McGuire.
Aye.
Mr. Nash.
Aye.
Mr. Volleson?
Aye.
Ms. Powers? Mr. Hagan? Ms. Sanchez Jones? Mayor Cobb.
Aye, and the ordinance is adopted. Now, item M is the approval of the creation of new full-time employee positions. We have one measure and ordinance, and I'll entertain a motion and second.
Move the ordinance.
Second.
Thank you, Councilmembers Volleson and Nash. And Madam Clerk, will you please read the title paragraph?
Ordinance authorizing the addition of 4 new full-time permanent positions for the city of Roanoke, authorizing the city manager or designee to execute any necessary documents for the addition of these positions, appropriating funds detailed more fully in infra, and dispensing with the second reading of this ordinance by title.
You, Ms. Turner?
I'd like to thank you, Mayor and Vice Mayor and council members for your support. You know, as I continue to do an analysis of the organization, these 4 positions are 4 that rose to the top that I feel that we need to move on quickly. So I appreciate your support and happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Thank you for your work on these. Any questions or discussion? Mr. Volleson?
I just want to thank the city manager for putting these positions as priorities. I think that's something that the council has been looking for, and we're really grateful for your leadership on that. So I just wanted to thank you for that.
Vice Mayor?
I would just also add, thanks, a couple of these in particular, I've been talking about a lot with you, so I think they're important and really appreciate it. And I guess just one question. Would this be new spending, these new positions? Are we taking away 4 positions or commensurate sort of amounts?
No, these are new positions, and the reason why I didn't want to look at taking other positions, because what I found is, while we have a high vacancy rate, a lot of that is due to just salaries. It's not that the positions aren't needed. So as many of you know, we are beginning our class and compensation study. And so I did not want to take away positions that are clearly needed in the department until we go through our class and compensation study, and we're hopeful we'll be able to hire those individuals in those positions.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
I do have a question.
Ms. Powers?
So, you know, in the past, we had a director of sustainability. So what happened with that? Did it leave and we just never filled it?
I'm not sure what happened to that position. I am creating an office of sustainability, and this position will lead that office. And so it'll be an opportunity for us to kind of realign. Within the next 2 council meetings, you're actually going to get a copy of the sustainability plan that we've been working on and finalizing. So we have an opportunity to move forward. But this position will also be over our climate action plan.
And these are going to come out of the current budget that we're in currently?
Yes, for this 6 months, because I probably will not be able to bring them in until January. We'll use vacancy savings for those 6 months, but they will go into the base budget.
Other questions? All right, Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Vice Mayor McGuire?
Aye.
Mr. Nash?
Aye.
Mr. Volleson?
Aye.
Ms. Powers? Mr. Hagan?
Aye.
Ms. Sanchez Jones? Mayor Cobb.
Aye, and the ordinance is adopted. Now I'll turn to our city manager, Ms. Turner, for any additional comments.
Thank you. I do have 5 comments today. Number 1, October 13, 2025, the Virginia Department of Transportation contractors began upgrading intersections along Hirschberger Road, Lafayette Boulevard, and Liberty Road. This work aims to enhance safety for motorists and pedestrians by implementing a combination of high-visibility backplates for traffic signals, ADA-compliant curb ramps, curb extensions along Lafayette Boulevard, pedestrian signals, and signatized intersections and crosswalk pavement markings. The city's Public Works Transportation Division and VDOT selected these corridors because of crash volume and limited transportation infrastructure. Number 2, as college application season begins, support is being offered by the Williamson Road Branch Library to guide students through the difficult process. Workshops will be had beginning October 22nd from 5 to 7 p.m., where students and families will be encouraged to speak with representatives from area colleges. The goal is to reduce the stress and make college planning more accessible for all. Number 3, on October 10th, 2025, the Roanoke Police Department I-STAR unit was recognized as the Virginia Crime Analysis Team of the Year by the Virginia Crime Analysis Network. Following a comprehensive review of crime analysis units across the Commonwealth, including several specialized state police units, the I-STAR team was selected for this prestigious award in recognition of their outstanding performance. Additionally, an RPD crime analyst received the Virginia New Analyst of the Year award for exceptional tactical analytical contributions that directly resulted in arrests and case closures. So please join me in please join me in congratulating our RPD department. Number 4, the Public Works Division, Transportation Division landscape crews have completed the annual fall aeration and overseeding of city medians and the right-of-ways, a key component of the city's landscape maintenance program. And number 5, October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and I wear pink today in honor of my sister, Bernadette White, who fought and won the battle against breast cancer. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks to everyone for their great work on these initiatives, and special kudos to the Roanoke Police Department and our I-STAR crime analysis team for their success. If you all could please pass that along. Thank you. Our next item is Public Matters Follow-Up, and I'll again turn to Ms. Turner.
Mr. Mayor, we do not have any public follow-up at this meeting.
Okay, thank you. And we will move on to item 2, which is our city attorney. We have no briefings, but we do have a couple of amendments for action. First is amendment of the city code by addition of new section 2-206.1, authority to refund taxes paid due to erroneous assessment, authorizing the treasurer to issue refund of erroneously assessed taxes that have been paid. We did receive a briefing on this at our last meeting. So today we have an opportunity to take action on this ordinance. And we have one measure in ordinance. Do I have a motion and second?
Move the ordinance.
Second.
Thank you, council members Hagan and Nash. Madam Clerk, will you please read the title paragraph? Oh, Volleson, sorry.
Volleson?
He seconded.
Okay.
The voices are all merging together.
An ordinance amending and reordaining Article 9, City Treasurer, Chapter 2, Administration, Code of the City of Roanoke as amended by the addition of new Section 2-206.1, authority to refund taxes paid due to erroneous assessment, authorizing the city treasurer to issue a refund up to the amount of $10,000 for local taxes previously overpaid by any taxpayer as a result of an erroneous assessment, providing for an effective date and dispensing with the second reading by title of this ordinance.
Thank you. Any updates on this, Mr. Collins?
No, Mayor. This simply authorizes the treasurer to issue refunds for erroneous assessed taxes up to $10,000.
Thank you, sir. All right, any discussion by council? All right, Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Vice Mayor McGuire.
Aye.
Mr. Nash.
Aye.
Mr. Volleson.
Aye.
Ms. Powers.
Aye.
Mr. Hagan.
Aye.
Ms. Sanchez Jones.
Aye.
And Mayor Cobb.
Aye, and the ordinance is adopted. Item B is an amendment of the City Code, Section 32-101.31, definitions, and Section 32-101.33, abatement terms, Division 5C, Hotel Real Estate Tax Abatement Program, Article 2, Real Estate Taxes Generally, Chapter 32, Taxation. We have one measure in ordinance.
Move the ordinance. Second.
Thank you, Council Members Volleson and Nash. Madam Clerk, will you please read the title paragraph?
ordinance amending and reordaining Section 32-101.31 definitions and Section 32-101.33 abatement terms, Division 5C Hotel Real Estate Tax Abatement Program, Article 2 Real Estate Taxes Generally, Chapter 32 Taxation Code of the City of Roanoke, to clarify that new construction of hotels on vacant land may only occur if the property is located in a redevelopment or conservation area or rehabilitation district, that provide for certain other changes, providing for an effective date, and dispensing with the second reading by title of this ordinance.
Thank you. Mr. Collins, anything to add?
No, Mayor.
Thank you. Any discussion by council? Thank you. Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Vice Mayor McGuire.
Aye.
Mr. Nash.
Aye.
Mr. Volleson.
Aye.
Ms. Powers.
Aye.
Mr. Hagan. Ms. Sanchez Jones. And Mayor Cobb.
Aye, and the ordinance is adopted. Item C is the refund of erroneously assessed taxes previously paid by Nicus Software Incorporated. We have one measure and ordinance, and I'll entertain a motion and second.
Move the ordinance.
Thank you, Council Members Nash and Powers. Madam Clerk, will you please read the title paragraph?
An ordinance directing the city treasurer to refund Nicus Software, Inc., the principal amount of $14,730.16 and $13,391.06, together with interest at the rate of 10% from the date such taxes were paid as a result of an erroneous assessment of certain taxes in 2024 and 2023 respectively, and dispensing with the second reading of this ordinance by title.
Thank you. Mr. Collins, anything to add?
No, Mayor. This is a request for a refund requested by the Commissioner of the Revenue. We do not have anything to add to the ordinance or the council report.
Thank you. Any questions or discussion by council? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Vice Mayor McGuire.
Aye.
Mr. Nash.
Aye.
Mr. Volleson.
Aye.
Ms. Powers.
Aye.
Mr. Hagan.
Aye.
Ms. Sanchez Jones.
Aye.
And Mayor Cobb.
Aye, and the ordinance is adopted. We'll move now to reports of committees, and we're delighted to welcome today a presentation from the Gun Violence Prevention Commission. And I'm going to invite the co-chairs, and Angie O'Brien, Deputy City Manager, and as many of the commission members that are here. Welcome, Reverend Harvey and Rabbi Cohen.
Mayor Cobb, City Council members, Ms. Turner, thank you for the opportunity to come and make this presentation to you today. I believe you also have a written report that we have submitted. It's a little bit different, a bit more comprehensive than even this report is, and so we'll commend this to you. We are going to try to thread the needle between going through every word that is on this PowerPoint presentation. It's a pretty comprehensive report that each slide in the presentation could be its own report, but also not go so fast that we gloss over some important things that we want to say. I do want to say, though, that we have some things to request of you at the end. Our report does come with some recommendations, one of which is a request for a working session where we could go into more of the recommendations and the written report in detail. So we just want to put that out up front. Do you mind advance those? I think it's important to begin the report by asking, as a city, as a commission, what story are we telling about ourselves as a city of Roanoke as it comes to the gun violence that we have been addressing for the last number of years? We were formed to address a rise of a particular kind of gun violence in a particular segment of the city. And so we have focused on that, and we want to tell the story, but we also know that a lot of people, when it comes to talking about guns and gun violence, have their way of telling the story. We want you to hear our way of telling the story, and that hope that it will become all of our ways of telling this story. The story begins with report of significant progress. Simply put, since its peak in 2023, homicides are down 55% in the city of Roanoke, aggravated assaults down 44% from year 2023 to 2024. And we think that needs to be the headline of our report and anything that comes out either of today's presentation to you or tomorrow night's presentation, community stakeholders meeting at the Hill Church in Northwest Roanoke, that significant progress has been made and that progress continues. This slide is year-to-date September 14. That significant decrease in homicides and aggravated assaults has continued and has pretty much returned to Roanoke's historic average. I went back and to prepare this presentation, we looked at the numbers from 99 to 2019, and these seem to be about the average of homicides that we were seeing prior to the increase that we had, which I think is largely explainable to the COVID, when we all sort of withdrew from being engaged with one another. And I believe there's some connections to be made to what I might call the events that led to the Black Lives Matter movement, somewhat with a number of high-profile police-involved shootings around the country. I think those two factors were significant nationwide to increases in gun violence. All that said, that there's still significant work to be done, especially in Northwest Roanoke. One of the things that we have learned is how small a segment of the population is actually engaged in this kind of actions, homicides and aggravated assaults. We've been told, I heard this from Joe Carucci, that 115 people are responsible for 44% of the violence, of this kind of violence in the city. And those are persons who are largely known and are being engaged in constructive ways to try to divert into more constructive matters of living. So there's, again, much good work happening there, much to be celebrated, yet for those families who are experiencing, who have empty seats at the table, or who have a memorial tree dedicated in memory of a loved one now and are on the list for one. Obviously, that is a hole in their lives that will never be fully filled. Well, there we go. We have also, due to the particular interest of two of our commissioners, have started paying very close attention to gun suicides. And so we've been starting to track this data as well. And in some data that we were found from 99 to 2019, Roanoke was averaging just over 9 gun suicides per year. And so you can see 24 and 25 data, how we're tracking with that. The bottom line of reducing gun violence is that it takes all of us working together. And the primary metaphor that I have been using for the last several years is that of a potluck meal. Now, being a pastor, I know a thing or two about potluck meals. And I know that every time I go to a potluck meal, there's probably a few things on the potluck that I don't care for. I'm not a huge fan of lima beans. For one, you know, but somebody else is, and that's the beauty of it. I know at one commission meeting, somebody came with a mission that night to make clear that their displeasure at one program that we were sponsoring in the city. And this person came and talked to me about it before the meeting, then stayed for the meeting. After the meeting, came immediately back to me and said, "Tim, I'm so glad I stayed because I love this and I love this and I love this." Still don't like that. And I said, "You know what? You don't have to. You don't have to. Join us over here." And I think there's just so much room for all of us as citizens here in Roanoke to come find that one thing that we really are excited about, that one positive contribution that we can make to the city, leave the parts that we don't like, and then come have a seat at the table and join in this effort. That it really does take all of us to do what we are starting to talk about as another metaphor, keep people safe, alive, and free. How can we, all of us as a city, keep all of our citizens safe, alive, and free? Part of that potluck involves the people who are at the table providing the services. This is just a small sample of groups and organizations working in many, many magnificent ways to reduce gun violence. This does not include so many of the nonprofits in our community, some large, been at work in our community for years, others small, and maybe just starting up and trying to do something new that we were able to fund with ARPA grants, who are working at some niche in the community that they're really good at and have relationships in. They're not represented on this slide, but just a small sample of all that is going on, working directly with people. But the bottom line, another thing we really want you all to take away from our presentation today. The gun violence we most often encounter involves impulsive actions that are made in the heat of the moment. Ready access to a firearm enables life-altering actions. Any barrier that exists or can be made to exist between a moment of anger or, in the case of suicide, really strong, dark emotion. Any barrier that can be erected between that and a gun will save lives. If people would just stop and think, lives will be saved. Another metaphor that I've been using at events in the city, many of the tree planting services, is to ask people what makes angry social media posts possible. Well, it's an impulsive action and an enabling tool. I see something I don't like and I have my phone in my hand. And then I ask the people, how many of us have deleted an angry social media post, something that we said and 5 minutes later thought, oh boy, shouldn't have posted that? And the question becomes, how do you delete a bullet once it leaves a gun? And of course you can't. You can delete a social media post, but the underlying impulse is very similar. And so how do we help people do that? If you're interested in learning more, some of the research we've been doing, I would encourage you to check out Jens Ludwig's book, Unforgiving Places. He looks at two adjacent neighborhoods in the south side of Chicago and asks why one has less gun violence than the other when those two communities are otherwise so similarly made up. You can read the book, or you can find a lot of interviews on YouTube of him. The book is fairly recent. But along the way, he interviewed Darian McKinney, who's a supervisor in the Cook County Juvenile Temporary Detention Center. Mr. McKinney concedes that some of the kids in his facility are truly dangerous, and if given the opportunity, again, would do more harm. However, he comments to them, he said, if I could give you back 10 minutes of your life, 80% of you would not be here. Again, it's that moment of impulsive action driven by anger or a perception of being disrespected or fearing you or what you may or may not be carrying on your hip, whatever, that leads to this action. If just 80% of the people might not be there if they could relive 10 minutes of their lives. Realizing now is the part to hand off the presentation, I forgot to introduce who is here with me. Co-chair Rabbi Kathy Cohen, Dr. Catherine Cable, Valerie Keppel, Elliot Major, and Jared Rose, and several other of our commissioners not able to be here due to work obligations or some illness in the family, but we're going to tag team the report the rest of the way.
We have been looking at gun violence through three strategies: prevention, intervention, and response. And looking in this direction, we have programs that fall under each one of these very important categories. So under prevention, use your phone. I'll just look up here. Clearly, the idea is to prevent the gun violence before it happens. And over the years, we have looked at many different ways of having that happen. Effective things: number one, use a gun lock. Number two, encourage people in our community, particularly credible messengers, to become a gun lock ambassador. Number 3, Groceries Not Guns is a wonderful program that takes guns off of our streets. Number 4, don't leave guns in your cars. We have data from the Roanoke Police Department of the large number of guns that have been stolen out of cars. Number 5, these stratified policing strategies have really worked and helped lower our gun violence rate. They include the Chief's Walks and relationship building throughout our city. Next is the Teen Apprenticeship Program, which is run by Reset. And finally, the use of cognitive behavioral therapy programs that help our young people to make better choices in life.
So this is my slide, and this is in part just to remind everyone of the, we've done a vast amount of study. We've read a ton of literature. A lot of it is the public health peer-reviewed literature. So we don't rely on YouTube unless it's public health and safety peer-reviewed YouTube. We don't rely on, podcasters unless they are MDs with expertise. We are actually reading the primary literature here. And one thing that I think is really important that the primary literature makes very clear and has for decades is that more guns equals more gun death. So we know that this is basically an environmental hazard. If you carry a gun, you are 4 times more likely to be shot in an assault than if you are not carrying a gun and you are assaulted. If you live with a gun in your home, you are 3 times more likely to be 3 to 4 times, kind of in between 3 to 4, 3 to 4 times more likely to be a victim of gun suicide than if you live without a gun, or someone in your household is likely to be. If you are living with a gun, someone in your household, you or someone in your household is 2 times more likely to be a victim of homicide than if you live in a gun-free household. So this is the public health, peer-reviewed, well-documented research. And handguns overwhelmingly pose a much, much, much greater risk than long guns. And I think one thing that's really important to keep in mind, and the bottom of the slide, is it legal, is it safe, right? Is it legal to live with a gun? 100%. Like, don't get confused. You got rights. Like, go ahead and do it. You got the right to jump out of an airplane without a parachute, too. I mean, like, you do what you want, but, like, know that, like, there are risks, right? And one of the really important things that we keep a focus on is, hey, there are risks to gun ownership. You can mitigate those risks. Here's how. So that's the kind of framing we like to keep to things. And we just want to be really clear that we do work on the actual studies and the peer-reviewed literature, and that's what we work off of in all our recommendations. So is that, okay, all right.
Catherine, this was your slide too.
This is my slide too? It was? Oh, my slide, I'm sorry, okay. Okay, so this is the don't leave your guns in cars, I think. So every dot here that you can see in green are guns left in cars that were stolen. So we think it's really important that more and more people in the city realize how really horrifically dangerous it is. And if you can see, the red dots are where we're seeing gun incidents. So the red dots are gun incidents, and this is all from RPD. So if RPD wants to jump in and explain the slide better than me, they're welcome. I see our deputy chief right here. And then the houses are where guns are stolen out of houses. So we see that's less of a problem, but really it's the guns in cars, and you can see that they're correlating geographically. So where guns are being stolen out of cars are also where we're having gun violence incidents. And so really, we would like to make this, we think it's an important thing to make the city more aware of how we ourselves are perpetuating this cycle of crime and guns being available, especially, we like to say, to kids and criminals when you leave your gun in the car. That's who you're supplying with guns. And if you think kids and criminals need guns, by all means, leave it in there. So that's the point of this slide, I believe, right? Okay.
Some of the wonderful intervention programs that we have been looking at. Number one is Reset, and here are several of the things that Reset has been doing. I'm not going to read them for you, but you can see that the Reset program through the Roanoke Police Department is incredibly effective.
And I just want to give a shout out here to Lloyd Merchant. I am personally convinced that there's 3 of him because I don't know how one person does everything that he does. And so this is a shout out from our commission to the great work that he's spearheading.
So intervention, as opposed to prevention, is targeted, non-punitive actions designed to interrupt cycles of violence by engaging individuals and groups at the highest risk of being involved in gun violence. So it is really that targeted person who we're trying to find who they are and to help them make better choices. Some of our intervention programs, the Pivot program, which was previously the Gun Violence Intervention Program, which Joe Carucci is now in charge of, the Youth and Gang Violence Prevention Program that Chris Roberts is doing a phenomenal job with, and Credible Messengers and tremendously positive interactions between the RPD and the community. Through our street team, we have had 29 active clients, 1 to 3 engagements per week with life skills training, and the most important part of this program is that it has gone with these individuals who were high risks 24 months without a gun-related assault or injury among those clients served. So this is the proof in the pudding that these programs work and that the funds that we put into them are saving lives. In terms of response, we are looking for coordinated, rapid, and short-term actions taken during or immediately after a gun violence incident to minimize harm and provide support to those people who are affected. Our response programs primarily are Reset, which we spoke about earlier, and Fed Up, which we'll talk about in a minute. But we have seen in the past few years improving in clearance rates for the police department up to 70%. Violent injury and recovery and support program through a wonderful program at Carillion, Hotspots Policing, and the Planting Peace program. Again, here are all the wonderful things that Reset has been able to do, and they are out there almost immediately to make sure that our communities are well served.
So once again, we're back to this slide where we see the red dots are the gun violence incidents. So those are assaults or gun homicides. And then you're also, I explained about the guns in cars, our guns stolen out of cars. On the right, what we see is the map of percent tree canopy. So what you can see is, like, overwhelmingly, we're seeing that in areas that these are overlapping maps, right? Where we see a lack of tree canopy and where we see the worst heat impacts is also where we see the most gun violence. So those two things are just right together. You can see it quite clearly. So the other thing that we've done in looking into the literature is that we found that for every 1 degree decrease in temperature, we see a 1% decrease in gun violence. Unfortunately, the opposite is also true. 1% degree increase, 1% increase in gun violence. So that is, so if you think about it, you already know this. Gun violence peaks in the summer, right? And there's a reason for that. It's because people are, and this has been studied, it's actually complex, and I won't take you through all of the peer-reviewed literature, but there is a huge impact of the actual just heat on our body's ability to regulate our emotions. And Pastor Tim has provided us with this lovely emoji here to demonstrate that. And then that's why we are kind of so in love with the little mini program that we've started. The Gun Violence Prevention Commission has started together with Fed Up, with their help, reaching out to their members, which is planting peace. So offering these trees to dedicate to victims of gun violence in our city, especially the unsolved homicides at first, but then we're really trying to offer this to as many people as possible. And the impacts of these, I am not a pastor. I am not easily moved. I'm like a cold, hard, mean data person. But these are truly moving ceremonies. And Councilman Nash, Mayor Cobb, so many of you have been there at these ceremonies. And the smaller ones are just as moving as the larger ones. We really are making impacts with these families in terms of healing them, but we're also preventing gun violence by planting these trees. So this is these programs are so tiny, but they're win-win-win in terms of the money you're spending, but the benefit you're getting. So in addition to cooler heads, when you have that cooler temperature, you're able to people to be out and about during the summer in a way that keeps eyes out and keeps people safe. Because we know that if there's more people out and about, that people, especially kids, are less likely to get into trouble. So does that cover it all? All right, thank you.
Thanks for the opportunity to talk with y'all today. I want to tell you about the Violent Injury Recovery and Support Program at Carilion Clinic. It's a program that's been around about 2 years, and we work with victims of gun violence, stabbings, and assaults. And so far, we've enrolled over 120 people in the 2 years that we've been operating. 25% of those who come through the ED with an assault are enrolling in our program. So we're seeing astounding results at reducing the recidivism risk of people who have been involved in these violent incidents, working with them for up to a year with our credible messengers. We have 2 violence intervention specialists who are credible messengers who work directly to provide services in the home and community, also at the bedside, but mostly we work in the homes and communities of those who've been impacted by violence for up to 1 year to support them in their healing and recovery.
So at the end, what can you do? Our report to you also serves double duty. This is also our community stakeholders report. So tomorrow night's meeting, we'll see this slide as well. One of the biggest things that we think all of us as citizens of the city of Roanoke can do, start by getting to know your neighbors. We hear stories over and over again. I'm just afraid of my neighbors. I don't know my neighbors. I'm concerned about what this person might be carrying. There is a certain amount of gun carrying that is just fear-driven, or the perception that there might be a problem driven. So we want to encourage people, get to know your neighbors. Molly Hunter last month enabled me to meet with a group from Northwest, 3 representatives of neighborhood associations to give this report. They had similar concerns. How do we just get to know our neighbors? Secondly, use a gun lock. Again, it is the simplest and easiest and most effective way to reduce the opportunity to use a gun in a harmful way. Just use a gun lock. Become a gun lock ambassador. Support Groceries Not Guns, the gun buyback program. Don't leave guns in your car. I know RPD in the past has run public announcements on this, service announcements on this, and I assume will again. Don't leave your gun in your car. Donate to Fed Up. We are so proud of the work that Rita Joyce and her team do to heal people who are wounded. And volunteer with Reset would be another an option. Our recommendations to you. We would ask, first of all, that you continue funding existing gun violence prevention initiatives. One of the things the research shows is that communities that have a gun violence problem or an increase in the problem put a lot of time, effort, and money into it, bring the numbers back down, and then go start, and attention goes to other areas, and the numbers start to go back up. This is something that needs to continual and consistent focus. So we would say, whatever we're funding now, keep doing. Let's keep doing that. When we come back for the working session that we've asked for, we would like to talk to you about funding Fed Up. We think they play a critical role in the community, and having some funding for them to provide, among other things, the counseling they do for people who are victims' families. Rita Joyce has been known to say many times, and perhaps you've heard her say, hurting people hurt people. And so the more we can do to provide healing, we think is a magnificent use of funds. We would love to see funding and managing Planting Peace, including coordination with the news media to highlight open cases. We were able to, with some help from the city manager's office and the grant that we received, to do the 9 dedication services this summer. The one thing that it was hard for us as a citizens board to do was really get the steady, constant communication with the news media to highlight that these are unsolved cases, and somebody out there still knows something. And so, having some city government help to connect those dots would be an important point for us. Funding Groceries Not Guns, our gun buyback program. We also think a public communication, public health campaign on the importance of gun locks and preventing gun suicide, including managing gun lock ambassadors. And again, it's because there's a certain part of the gun homicide and the gun suicide that there's a significant overlap in what causes that. And by addressing one, you would presume we would address the other at the same time. And so we think we could do double duty with that. But again, just to focus on those two things. So those would be our recommendations for further conversations, things that we think the city, as you were doing, city council, as you were doing your work, would keep an eye on and possibly add to the budget. We strongly recommend adding to the budget in some way moving forward. And that is our report. Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
I just wanted to add one tiny little thing that might have slipped by as we're kind of trying to go through so many slides and so much data so quickly. We are right now in 2025 at 11 gun suicides in our city. And historically, that is high, right? That's like, that would be a bad year for a year-end number, is what I'm trying to tell you. So when we're talking about like really being concerned about this, that's why we're so concerned, especially this year, because we really see those numbers dramatically going up and not following the same trend as the gun homicide numbers. So I just wanted to make sure that that was like not lost in the sauce. So, because I know we presented a lot. So thank you. Sorry. Thank you.
Thank you all for an excellent presentation.
If I can just make one more
yes.
comment, just two sentences. Our biggest ask is that you set aside some time that we could have a working session with you. And in the written report that you have received, there are several more recommendations. And we'd like to use those last 2 pages in that report as the beginning of a working session. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you all for your time, and it's incredible to see how far we've come over the last many years, and I'm proud of our city and proud of all of the efforts that have grown and the collaboration that's taking place. I think for me, there were a lot of compelling things here, but on the youth and gang violence, the street intervention team, and I'm trying to pull it up here, 24 months without a gun-related assault or injury among the clients served. I think we've always talked about how relationships make the difference here, and this is indicative of how important this work is and why it needs to be sustained. Yeah. So, questions or comments from council?
I have a question.
Ms. Power? Sorry, hold on. Yes, ma'am.
We have 2 speakers that wanted to speak on this matter.
Oh, okay. All right, well, we'll get to them momentarily. All right, thank you for letting me know.
How do you get this type of information out to the public? This is great.
So at every festival, we try to have our public relations or community engagement team there. And that is there with every gun lock that we hand out. That is handed out as well.
I don't know if we can do this, or David might be able to answer this. I know that when I was in the treasurer's office, we used that time when we sent out 70-some thousand personal property bills. We would work with other departments at the city and put flyers in with the bill. And would that be something that the city could do? I mean, like next April, you've got 70-some thousand bills going out to everybody who drives a car. And when you're talking about people who drive around with guns in their car, maybe they need to keep this on their dashboard. So I'm sure Tasha would be very willing to help do that for you.
That is exactly the kind of collaboration that will save lives.
Well, when we just saw on the news this week where the gentleman put the gun in the child's book bag that went to a daycare, I mean, if you'd stick something on your dashboard, like, where is your gun? He might have went, oh my gosh, to think about that. But, I mean, the Water Authority sends out flyers, AEP sends out flyers. I mean, might be some people that you could work with to see if they'd be willing to do that for you. But this is great. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for the idea.
So before we go to rest of council for comments, since we have two people that signed up to speak this, let's go ahead and invite them up.
All right.
Okay.
The first speaker would be Dr. Brenda Hale, followed by Michael Heller.
Welcome, Dr. Hale.
Before I start speaking, let me loosen up my legs. We've been sitting a long time. So I didn't want to take my moments away from that. Good afternoon. Honorable Mayor, Reverend Dr. Joe Cobbs, Vice Mayor, all of the city council members, and to all of the staff in attendance today. I bring you greetings from the Roanoke branch in AACP. Today is a good day. With the report that you just received, please digest that, and please listen to the ask. And I loved your suggestion. Thank you so much. Many years ago, when there was so much gun violence in the Roanoke Valley, it was pressed upon my heart to have an intervention. As a registered nurse, I was sick and tired of being sick and tired of hearing about premature deaths from gun violence. So, to have an intervention, let's remove guns from the equation, and that's homes. Well, I prayed about it, seeking an answer. Then in God's time, not my time, Dr. Catherine and Dr. Mike Heller stepped into my 2-foot rule. So that means if you become within 2 feet of me, you're gonna know what I do, and I'm gonna know what you do. And then we're gonna do something together. I appointed Dr. Catherine as the chair of Groceries Not Gun, and Dr. Mike was elected to our executive committee. We became known as the Three Amigos. And we have spoken many times right here in City Council as the Three Amigos. From the birth of Groceries Not Guns, I can truly say we have made a difference in the Roanoke Valley. The reports have shown that through our partnerships, and this is where it's so key in the Roanoke Valley to have partnerships because you can get extraordinary things done. That's the Roanoke branch in AACP, Roanoke City Sheriff, Roanoke Police Department, Roanoke Friends Meeting, the Quakers. We have successfully removed guns from homes, provided gun safety, locks, and provided much needed education. Our ask, please let us continue doing the work of Groceries Not Guns. by lending us financial assistance. We truly would be appreciative of this, and we would truly be grateful to still continue on the mission, because the mission is far from being over. I see my time is up. I have 16 seconds to bank. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Hale.
Thank you.
Welcome, Mr. Heller.
I'm Mike Heller. I'm with the Roanoke Quaker Meeting, and we've worked closely with the NAACP, Groceries Not Guns, and this is an important program, and it's been great for our community. Working with NAACP has been so meaningful, but also the Roanoke City Police Department. We've really had a large involvement with them to put on these gun buybacks. In an informal way, I followed newspaper reports of some other cities that have gun buybacks, particularly Albuquerque, New Mexico, and New Orleans. And what we're doing is comparable. Bigger cities, they've collected more guns, but given the size of Roanoke, we've really done well. In one of the articles on New Orleans, they received the same criticism that we have. How does it make a difference? And the person said, this is part of a broad community engagement strategy. I think that's what we've seen here, a broad community engagement strategy. And just to emphasize suicide, we've had more deaths from suicide than homicides. And suicide cuts across all races. And getting the guns out of the homes makes so much difference. Over the years we've had Groceries Not Guns, we've collected 550 guns. 200 of those were semi-automatic handguns. Imagine if you set out 550 guns on tables, let's say 10 guns to a table. 55 tables you'd have in some big room with a lot of guns. That's what we've collected. I think we've made a difference. Of course, we don't know, because if a gun was taken away and no one was killed, we don't know what happened, right? It's making a difference. Thank you very much.
Mr. Heller. Are there comments or questions from council? Mr. Volleson.
Thank you both for, or well, not just the two of you, the whole team for presentation today. There's some good numbers in there, and I'm very excited about, the decreases that we are seeing. Just a couple of questions. I'm always about metrics and numbers and those types of things. I know that we do the comparison between this year and last year, and it's something that the police do very often as well, and it's something that I even tell them as well. I want to see more than just 1 year.
Right.
Like when COVID started, or even when the Gun Violence Prevention Commission started to now, and seeing those numbers really helps more than just seeing what we're doing in 1 year. Because yes, I think what you're doing is working, but when we're able to see and put numbers to it, it tells the story sometimes better than we can with 1 year.
Yeah, I have that data. I alluded to that in some of my oral comments, that this year's numbers are comparable to 99 to 19.
Yes.
And I think in there was a year with 0 homicides, and there was a year with 15. So that was the low and the high. It averaged out to, I don't have the number off the top of my head, but we've come back to what seems to be Roanoke's historic average.
And I actually, I had in my notes, I appreciated the averages. That was much more helpful when you were able to say, hey, this is what has happened.
Right.
I'm just one of those people where it's easier for me to see what's happening.
For when we can get together for a working session, what we did not have in that report, which I think will be helpful, is the numbers from right at COVID from 2019 leading up to 2023. And as a spoiler, you see it going up and up and up until we hit the apex in 2023.
The other reason I bring that up is obviously the ask is for more funding. The more metrics we have that show that the funding has a correlation, the more
Yes.
likely we're able to make that.
Absolutely, absolutely.
And I'd also recommend that in the report, if you look at the work of Thomas Apt, or, I'm sorry.
Yes.
Is it Thomas? It is Thomas. He has done a lot of research, and his evidence-based research is that every homicide in the city costs the city $10 to $19 million in terms of lower property value, insurance, healthcare,
All the things that go along with it.
everything that goes into it, yeah.
Yeah, but if you would, any report you would like in terms of that, we can get a lot more specific, so we're happy to, thank you.
And the other two items I had just really quickly is I would love to see the grants in the report. I know this is we have a lot of a narration about things, but just seeing where the grants went this past year as part of the report as well.
I think we can do that.
And then this really kind of hit me while we were doing this, and this may not even be for you guys to do, but I remember that we put in a curfew a year or two ago when I was on, not everybody here was here. I think during our transition of city managers and things like that, that kind of got lost. We asked for the data, does this curfew help or not? And I'm going to look at you, Deputy Chief Puckett.
Yes, sir.
Do we have numbers from when that curfew was done? And
We can look and see as far as enforcement and things like that go. I know one of the biggest issues that we have with enforcing curfew is finding a place to go.
Yep, you got to come to the mic. Sorry about that.
We can get numbers and let you know if we've been able to enforce that curfew at all. I think one of the biggest challenges we have with a curfew like that is when I first joined the police department almost 22 years ago, we had a curfew center, and we were able, as officers, to take juveniles to those curfew centers and drop them off and wait on a parent or a guardian to come pick them up. Right now, the challenge that we have is if we don't have a place like that, our officers are tied up for hours and hours on end.
Yeah.
So I would not have specific enforcement numbers for you right now, but we can get those to see if we have been able to do it at all. I hope that helps answer the question.
Yeah, I remember that was something that we wanted to know is, because this is a thing that comes around every few years where we throw a curfew on there to hopefully reduce violence, and we're not really sure whether it has a direct effect or not. So I just wanted to, that was just something that came up because we're talking about gun violence. I remember we did the curfew because of the increased violence we had.
Another thing we can look at when we look at those numbers is we catch the age demographic. So as far as suspects and victims, so we can compare prior when the curfew was put into place and after, and that might also be another way to judge that or measure that.
That'd be really helpful. Thank you.
All right, we can give you that.
That's all.
Ash?
Yeah. I would just, excuse me. I would just say that I'm happy to have y'all here. It's an honor for me being on council to be the liaison for the Gun Violence Prevention Commission. What you all are working towards, your passion, your enthusiasm, and the dedication that each and every one of you displays towards tackling these issues, whether if it's in our hospital, after a tragic event has occurred, or if it's Pivot working with those that are out there causing these issues, and then even Reverend Hodges being out there educating how she does at every single community event that she gets the opportunity to. It's a pleasure and honor to serve with you all, and I'm excited for tomorrow when we have our stakeholders meeting. That is something that I think is going to be super impactful. Bring together law enforcement, Commonwealth Attorney's Office, as well as you all to go over what we saw today, but also talk about the entire process from the time the call comes in to the time either justice is delivered or there's not enough evidence to really form a case and the case is determined to be a cold case, and then what's the pathway from that point forward. And then additionally, I'd like to add that I could, and when y'all did the curfew, I went to PH and said, don't do the curfew, it ain't gonna work. The research suggests that curfews don't work. And I believe that at the time, Deputy City Manager Sam Roman was the police chief at that time. And when asked about the curfew, that they had not enforced it at all before it was sunsetted. But I could be incorrect, but I'd be curious to see that information as well, because last time I heard I believe it was him speak about it. It was not enforced at all. And it was also during the year where we had one of our higher record years of gun violence incidences. So even if it was enforced, it didn't work. One of the data sheets that we get during our meetings also shows the age demographics of those that perpetrate these type of crimes. And the vast majority of the individuals that even perpetrate these crimes are over 18 years old, so the curfew wouldn't apply to them to begin with. So thank you all very much.
Thank you. And thank you for serving with us.
No problem.
Vice Mayor, Mr. Hagan, anything?
Thank you very much. I'll be really quick. Thank you for coming down in the presentation and hear you loud and clear on the ask to get together for a working session. I would love to do that and also hear you on the other funding requests. I want to thank you expressly for making the loud connection to urban heat and increases in violence. And that's something that we've had good data on for a long time. I think Rabbi Cohen, you and I talked about that a year or two ago, and it's, I think, really helpful for us to have that and to be able, if we want to know that there's more data available, because we can't control everything. I think it's really, we need to be aware of all of the pieces that go into the gun violence crisis that we're in. We can't control some of the elements of, the flood of guns on our streets, but we can control to a certain extent how green our neighborhoods are, the access that our residents have to parks and places where they can cool off. And so I'm really interested in working on that and supporting you in partnerships with, if we are able to bring on a director of sustainability, and how can we kind of build this across the city in a way that is accomplishing our goals on the climate action plan, as well as our goals, obviously, with reducing gun violence issues. So
We won't argue with who pays for the trees, you know.
well, I want to support you however I can, but that's one area that I really appreciate hearing that. And then I think the Planting Peace initiative is great because there's also good data on horticultural therapy, people being able to get outside and have a place that they can, go and honor the person that they lost. And it's a good reminder, too, that releasing balloons is illegal now in Virginia, so we don't want anyone to get in trouble for doing that. And I think planting trees is a nice way to engage the community and give them a place that they can come to. So thank you for all of that, and I look forward to our working session together.
Thank you.
So I had a question specific to the groceries, not guns. What happens to the firearms after you all collect them?
They're destroyed.
By-
RBD takes possession
Oh,
of
okay.
them, and they are destroyed.
So we have our forensics unit there on those days, and they collect all the weapons. They go through each one, write down serial numbers, make sure none of them are stolen, relate to any of the crimes that we have investigated, and then after that, they're destroyed.
Okay.
So,
Yeah, that was really the only question I had. Always would welcome any sort of data, like the peer-reviewed items. Would love to take a look.
Okay.
Thank you.
We can do that. I realized I had one more slide that didn't make it into this report, and that is simply, very quickly, our next steps. Our work is not done, and some things that we are going to be turning our attention to. Number one, continuing research into socioeconomic factors, or also known as the root causes of gun violence, and how those might be addressed. A little bit like planting trees. There may be some city agency that's already kind of doing that work, that also can do that work and contribute to the reduction in gun violence. Continuing to research extreme risk protective orders and how those can be utilized in the workplace. And then, again, continuing attention on addressing and reducing gun suicides.
You. So we will work with you all to look at a time for a combined work session. And thank you for these recommendations. Could you remind me again of the time for tomorrow night's stakeholder meeting?
Yes, so we'll be at the Hill Church on Lafayette Boulevard at 5:30.
5:30. Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate your time. Right. We're going to recess for 3 minutes as we make a transition to our legislative committee. So 3-minute recess, and then when we resume, we'll move into our legislative committee. Call council back into session, and just wanted to share that Councilwoman Sanchez Jones is dealing with a family emergency, and so we send our deep prayers and thoughts with her as she is working through that. And I'm going to recess council now and invite Vice Mayor McGuire, Chair of our Legislative Committee, to call the Legislative Committee into action.
Action session. Thank you, Mayor. I'm calling to meeting the order of the Roanoke City Legislative Committee, and I will ask our clerk to call the roll, please.
Mr. Hagan?
Here.
Ms. Sanchez Jones is out. Mayor Cobb?
Here.
Mr. Nash?
Here.
Mr. Volleson? Here. Ms. Powers?
Here.
Ms. Appel? Not here. And Ms. Trigg?
A quorum.
Here. And Chair McGuire, I'm so sorry.
I'm here, yes, thank you. Okay, a quorum exists. I will offer just some brief introductory remarks, mostly to say thank you to City Attorney Tim Spencer's team, Laura Carini, David Collins, Deputy City Manager Sam Roman, and your team for helping with this. The McGuire Woods folks as well, Councilmember Volleson, my co-chair, and then all of my colleagues for getting their feedback to us and working with us on getting this agenda together, which is not quite ready for finalization, but will be by November 3rd. And I think what we have before us today are the bullet points that we'll walk through. So the substance is all there. I think it could use a little, some dressing up, but we will get to that. So I think first I have to do approval of the minutes from the last meeting. I will, so without a, do I have to call a vote on that?
Without objection, you can.
Okay, well, without objection,
Yes.
the minutes will be dispensed with and approved as recorded. Before I jump into our city side piece of these legislative priorities, I wanted to thank and recognize Dr. Siebert with Roanoke City Public Schools and give him a chance to come up and say a word about the priority document that your team has been working on.
Committee Chair, Vice Mayor McGuire, Mayor Cobb, members of council, and members of the committee. I do bring regrets from Board Chair Appel and Board Member Trigg due to scheduling conflicts, but we've obviously been very involved. You all have been very busy in prioritizing your work. The school board has similarly been working hard, and so we've provided your place a summary from the Policy Governance and Legislative Committee, basically outlining that at the school board meeting on October 14th, the board did formally adopt its legislative priorities for the coming session. Historically, you all have incorporated them by reference, and I think that would be the will of the board again. That we also then begin the work of position papers. The position papers are the things that we use specifically during session, or sometimes ask legislators to introduce bills. 5 of those are done, and they're here for your information and reference. Others will be forthcoming. As you all know, there's much work to be done. We have a superintendent's conference coming up. We have a school board conference coming up, and an election. So there's a number of things still pending, but we do have 5 out the gate. What we did think of particular interest to you would be the demonstration site. Community Builders has been a very successful program. It was extended as a pilot. We are now recommending and asking that it be re-envisioned as make Roanoke City Public Schools a demonstration site for the Community Builders program, where we could host and help train other school divisions in doing this very important work in concert with our locality. We thank you for that. Might not be of interest to you, but of great interest to us. We were successful a couple years ago getting some flexibility of student assessment. We think there's actually too many tests, and until we have better quality tests, we need to do some things differently. That flexibility was for 2 years. It's going to expire at the end of this school year because the Commonwealth has still not done its RFP for new assessments. We're asking that to be carried. Both Senator Suderline and Delegate Rasool have championed that work. We are taking some positions on the accountability system. We think there's some very solid foundational things there, but the implementation has been a bit rushed, and so we have some recommendations regarding that. We also continue to see needs for licensed teachers, specifically We would like to continue to support dual enrollment opportunities for our students, and we think a teacher license could be done there. And another one that we are very interested in, we have been a champion, as you all understand, workforce is a shared interest, and that the work-based learning experiences Roanoke City Public Schools have are commendable and wonderful. Last year, the General Assembly did an age flexibility for barbering and cosmetology. Our workforce, our CTE teachers would like to see that flexibility be for other levels as well. We think others will be forthcoming, particularly in terms of budget, once we have more ideas and a more clear handle on how things are percolating in Richmond, and we continue our work. But that's where the board is at this moment. Again, regrets for those members who couldn't be here today. Happy to answer any questions you might have.
Very much, Dr. Siebert. Does anyone have any questions?
Actually, I have one.
One question, Councilmember Volleson.
Mr. Siebert, does the school board want, or does the school system want to take a position on appointed and elected school boards?
Oh, if you notice, what we have here is our plan. Instead of a position paper, it's not really a plan because we haven't really worked out yet. In the last paragraph there, we envision an opportunity. Last year was we helped defeat that legislation. Part of that effort was a wonderful letter from Mayor Cobb, another one from then Chair Jamison. So rather than a position paper, we thought the thing we would do this year is consider asking Mayor Cobb and Chair Appel to write a joint letter of thank you. So now, instead of just walking into legislators' offices and saying, here's what we like, here's what we don't like, we would like to take this letter, we envision tailoring it, so we would have one for Senator Favola, we would have one for Senator Suderline, for all the senators who voted nay, or in case of Senator Aird and others who abstained, who helped make that defeat possible. Before this General Assembly session is really up and away, my visit to their office could be, and here's a thank you letter from the mayor and the chair of Roanoke City Public Schools for helping support our #1 priority, which is local control in last year. And we think that would be a constructive, positive way to deliver a message at the very beginning of the session.
Thank you.
Elected officials do like to be thanked. That is true. Thank you for the question. Any others? Okay, well, I thank you again, Dr. Siebert, for walking us through those. I don't think, do we have representatives from McGuire Woods calling in today? I did not think so, but okay, just wanted to double check. I am going to, if it is okay with you all, and I'll ask Mr. Roman or Ms. Turner if you would like to jump in at any point on these. What we were going to do, Councilmember Volleson and I talked about going through each of the issue areas and just talking quickly about the priority action. We're not going to go through all of the positions. This will be available for those listening or interested in the meeting minutes, and you can reach out to any of us as well or the clerk to get a copy. But what we will read through are the positions, and it starts with, does that sound okay to everyone? Yep, okay. Yes, sir.
I would just note that this is also after consultation with our legislative partners as well as to how we prioritize these.
Yes, thank you very much for that clarification. Yeah, we have had really good conversations and meetings with our state legislators, and so this is informed by their feedback as well. Thank you for that. The first priority area for us is housing, and we had 2 priority actions for our legislators under that. The first is to support an amendment to code that would allow Roanoke to join other Virginia localities in adopting an affordable housing program to encourage the construction of moderately priced homes. That language is pulled from online, the code website. This is the inclusionary zoning program that already exists in code that we're asking our legislators to support an amendment that would add Roanoke to that program that already exists.
Ms. McGuire, I'm sorry.
Yes, ma'am. Go ahead, please.
I just wanted to add, I have participated in that program very heavily with Loudoun County to the tune where Loudoun County was one of the first locales to adopt. I think they started in like 1980, and we amassed well over $30 million in a housing trust fund because of the growth. So it is an inclusionary zoning ordinance. It's one that has worked well in other areas, particularly in Northern Virginia. And I was surprised because I've been in Northern Virginia that it's only for certain locales. And so I think this is a very good move for us. relative to how we can continue to provide affordable housing opportunities.
Thank you, Ms. Turner. Yeah, there are a handful of localities around the state, and some outside of, I think, Northern Virginia. I think Charlottesville is part of it. Any questions or comments on that? Councilmember Volleson, anything on inclusionary zoning you want to add? No? Okay, that was the first under housing. The second priority action is to support increasing the property value limit for land bank acquisition from $75,000 to $150,000. This is to further our goal of increasing the available stock of safe and affordable homes. The current bank, or the current limit on properties, the valuation is $75,000, that the city is able to move those properties that are delinquent on taxes into the land bank program. So we are requesting an increase, a doubling from 75 to 150,000, recognizing that property values have gone up so much all over the city, and even derelict vacant homes can be valued at over 75,000. Any questions or comments on that one? Okay, that's housing. The second is public safety. Our top priority action under public safety is to support a legislative amendment to existing code that would provide financial assistance to those seeking to return home after receiving medical treatment at Roanoke Memorial Hospital if they are unable to afford transportation. If the mayor would like to say anything, this would be also an amendment to existing code that would, where patients, certain patients are given financial assistance in getting to the hospital. This would, if I'm getting it correctly, tweak that and provide funding for those folks if they want to go home to get back home. And so this is legislation, I think that Senator Deeds had passed previously, so we're asking for an amendment to that. And this is out of recognition that Carilion is one of 4 level 1 trauma facilities in the state of Virginia. And so we recognize that we have a lot of folks coming here for care from all over the region, and they often would like to go home after they receive care and are not able to.
So, yes, and I think a couple things here. We'll want to, whether we do this in a contextual paragraph, but just to identify that we're seeking this not only for our level 1 trauma center, but for the 4 level 1 trauma centers. And that it would be also helpful, I think, to identify, Carilion already has a pretty robust return transport policy and practice. So we want to identify where the gaps are. And I think we can do some of that homework in between now and the next, when we adopt this.
Thank you very much, Mayor, for that clarification. And yeah, I would definitely appreciate your help, and city managers, police chiefs, anyone that we need to finesse that before it's finalized. Moving on to economic development, there were 2 priority actions. The first is support impact and feasibility study of the Roanoke-Blacksburg Regional Airport runway improvements and expansion. I think that one's pretty self-explanatory. That's a priority economic development need that we've all identified in the Roanoke Valley, not just in the city, and so this is asking for some help on a impact and feasibility study for that. The second economic development priority action is to support converting the Virginia Transportation Museum into a state agency, which we believe would be important to shore that up as an important state resource, but for our region, I think it would help them, we think it would help them operate more efficiently and just be a better amenity and tourism destination for the valley. Any questions about those 2 economic development priorities? Okay. On to budget and funding. The priority action was support restoration of state funding toward expansion of Virginia Tech Carilion School of Medicine. I think that is also self-explanatory. If no questions there, I can move to transportation. 1 priority action, support allocation of $10 million in funding needed to deliver an Amtrak station in downtown Roanoke. This would be, if it stays in the legislative agenda as written, we had a conversation with our legislators about allocating some money for the station in this year's budget, even if we're not really ready to go right away, but making sure that we have some money carved out possibly for next year or following years, because we all agreed, I think, that that would be an important addition to downtown Roanoke and our transportation capacities. And I think our legislators were interested in that, so I thought that was encouraging. Environment, 2 priority actions. Support legislation that gives localities additional tools and authority to combat urban tree canopy loss during the zoning and development processes. This is seeking to help well, it would not benefit just Roanoke, but local governments' efforts to cost-effectively mitigate climate change, manage stormwater, and reduce the urban heat island effects. We talked a little bit about that just previously with the gun violence report. And then the second priority action under environment was support legislation and incentives to expand siting opportunities for solar, including new and existing buildings and parking garages, sites with existing impervious surfaces, and brownfields. With both of these, there were numerous bills introduced in previous legislative years. So these are written in such a way that they can kind of capture different efforts, or there are a couple of different options available for our legislators if they were interested in working with us on one or both of these. Those are all of the priority actions that we had in the legislative agenda. Does anyone have any questions or comments about that? Our next is Monday, November 3rd, 2025 at 9 a.m., where we will finalize our legislative agenda. So if there is no other business to bring before the committee, I can adjourn us until November 3rd. Sound good? All right.
Thank you.
Well, thank you all very much.
Thanks to everyone for your work on that. Turn back to our council agenda, and we are at, still in reports of committees, but I'll ask if there are any comments from council liaisons to certain authorities, boards, or committees. Any report outs from anybody? Okay. No unfinished business. Item 10, introduction and consideration of ordinances and resolutions. Number 1 is to repeal and replace ordinance number 43260-090225, accepting and appropriating FEMA disaster assistance funds to correct a scrivener's error. There is one measure in ordinance, and I'll entertain a motion and second.
Move the ordinance. Second.
Thank you, council members Volleson and Nash. Madam Clerk, will you please read the title paragraph?
An ordinance to repeal and replace ordinance number 43260-090225, adopted September 2nd, 2025, to correct a scrivener's error in the budget appropriations and revenue account numbers, and adopting an ordinance correcting the error in connection with the acceptance of the Virginia Department of Emergency Management Disaster Assistance Funds to the city, amending and reordaining certain sections of the Disaster Assistance Funds appropriation as detailed more fully infra, and dispensing with the second reading of this ordinance by title.
Thank you. Any additional input from Ms. Turner or Mr. Collins on that? Okay. Madam, any questions or discussion from council? Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Vice Mayor
Aye.
Mr. Nash?
Aye.
Mr. Volleson?
Aye.
Ms. Powers?
Aye.
Mr. Hagan?
Aye.
Ms. Sanchez Jones? Oh, I'm sorry, she's out. And Mayor Kopp.
Aye, and the ordinance is adopted. Thank you all. I don't believe we have any motions or miscellaneous business, so this council meeting will stand in recess for closed meetings and thereafter reconvene at 7 p.m. in council chambers. And I will remind folks that there is a reception tonight for the new art exhibit that's been installed on the 4th floor, and I believe that starts at 6 p.m. So we are in recess.